Superintendent's report. Dr. Washer, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. The members of the board, this is part of the Head Start program that the district thank you to Lawrence for being the first.
Dr. Washer, what's the ages on that?
This is preschool, so it is 3-4. Lodi, is that correct? We take 3-4
Great, that's fantastic.
before they go into TK,
TK.
transitional kindergarten.
Preschool TK.
Transition.
That's
This
right.
is the new model.
Secondary classes doing this program. I was out at Krista McCullough Middle School today and saw a poster that caught my attention. If you have a picture of that. This is the Krista McCullough Eagle Arts class, so I thought that was pretty special. Also, I want to thank Tokay High School for their Science Day. I know that several of you went out there to see on a Saturday the Science Day that was put on by their student, Julie Fukunaga, and so I want to thank her very much. She did an excellent job organizing that. There were lots of volunteers ready to help, lots of stations. Kids were excited about science. I want to thank Mrs. Starr, a science teacher, for being the teacher responsible for helping with that. Thank Eric Sandstrom and all the staff for their work. There were teachers from all different schools. UOP, Delta, all kinds of folks on that day, and there were kids of all ages enjoying science. So thank you to Kate for doing that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Washer. Maria, it's all yours.
Hi, my name is Maria Mize. I was an employee at Lodi Unified School District in 2011 as a sub-custodian, and I was signed on as a custodian at Lockwood K through 8 school on April the 24th. I was a victim of sexual harassment. I brought this attention to the administrator, and I was fired. The reason given was poor performance, which is not reflected to my evaluation, and no more than 90% of letters of recommendation by the teachers at the school site. I was put on administrative paid leave. I have called the personnel director 3 different occasions, February the 11th, February the 12th, and February the 15th. And I have not heard from the personnel director. I have emailed my CSEA union members, and I reported my claim to them on February the 12th. One of the members have attempted to contact personnel director, and there was no response. I have spoken with my union rep in person on February the 24th, and when I told him about my claim, he stated to me that you cannot help me because I'm no longer an employee of Lodi Unified School District, nor am I a member of the CSEA. He also added that I have no rights whatsoever because you are a classified employee and you were on probation. He also added that since you were classified, you are not allowed to take any breaks. He asked me that I can appeal it to the next board meeting. He stated it would be March 1st. He also added that, but 99% the board will approve your termination. It's talking to deaf ears. Today, I spoken to one of a board member, and I was told that my termination was approved on February the 16th. I've spoken with my union rep about the situation. He said you cannot find my name in the termination file. However, later, he did say that my name was in the wrong file, and I was reinside. He told me that if I signed anything to any forms whatsoever, I didn't sign no forms. The only thing that I signed was my evaluation. The reason why that my file was that I resigned my position, he stated to me it was because of my own safety, and so I could collect unemployment. I do believe that there should have not been any action until there was a thorough investigation of the matter is conducted by an independent investigator. There's so many issues in play here, so many times, that it needs to be investigated. Primary one is the other sexual harassment that was filed by the last custodian. The second, the hours not being adequate to perform the task that is required. The third thing, being terminated immediately after I filed my claim, which was January the 22nd, and it was not talked about until the week before my termination. The fourth thing is HR did not return my calls after 3 occasions. And the fifth thing, the bogus photos from the principal at my evaluation. All I'm asking is a board member to view my case and grant me an opportunity to amend my determination.
Thank you, Maria. We have John Jurgen.
Good evening, Mr. Freitas, members of the board, Superintendent Washer. I'm here to speak on behalf of Maria with maybe a few more details to fill in some blanks. She was supposedly terminated because she failed to do her job adequately. We are all here to testify that that is not true. There are several staff members here. This job has been classified for an 8-hour position since 2014, but administration has failed to file the appropriate paperwork. The current custodian speaks often to us about lobbying the district for not only the 8-hour position, but also an additional 5-hour position in order to complete cleaning assignments. The school added 8 to 10 classrooms, but we are still restricted to the same or nearly the same number of janitorial hours as before. This creates a ridiculous workload, which often goes undone. Current substitute janitor's statements include that he isn't able to complete the work in the allotted time. The conditions at the school have deteriorated since Maria's leaving, which speaks to the quality of her work. Evaluations reflected that Maria needed to increase job completion rate. These comments reflect not on her work ethic or ability to complete assigned tasks, but rather on the fact that some tasks could not be completed in a 7-hour shift. So if the quality of her work isn't the issue, why was she terminated? Her termination came approximately 10 days after filing a sexual harassment claim against a fellow employee. The timing seems a little suspicious to us at the site. This is not the first case of sexual harassment at Lockford School. A previous janitor was forced to relocate away from her harasser and our school, rather than his being punished. How the administration handled that situation is on record and should be reviewed as it reflects on how this case was handled by the same administrator. We believe there is a pattern here of failing to manage these situations appropriately. As a probationary employee, Maria is expendable. Sexual harassment, oh, let's just terminate her instead of dealing with the difficult issues that arise. Convenient for the district. Maria disappears and so does the problem, at least until it happens to someone else. The days of issues such as this being swept under the carpet are long past, and we are here tonight to bring your attention to the circumstances. There are currently 3 of the teachers from the school here. Earlier there was another to speak on Maria's behalf. I assure you we would not be here if her work were substandard or she was a difficult employee to deal with. We are here because we strongly believe that she is being terminated unjustly. We are here tonight to ask the board, in the strongest and most respectful way possible, to bring an independent investigator to the case, to demonstrate fairness to all parties involved. There should be an independent investigation of 1, the circumstances of Maria's termination, 2, janitorial needs, hours, and working conditions, and the part these played in her termination. We ask, what is the rush to judgment? Maria's hard work and dedication to her job deserve a fair and impartial hearing. What you are being told by the district is the district's perspective. It is not the whole story. As we all know, there is always 2 sides to every story. We must respectfully request that you hear us, listen to what we are saying, listen seriously to our request, and to give this matter the impartial attention that it deserves. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you very much, Todd. Cindy Bonini.
Good evening, members of the board, President Corretes. Maria Meese is an employee who has worked as a sub-custodian for well over 3 years, and some of those sub-jobs were at Lockford School. She comes with great recommendations and letters, including one from our current administrator, who had stated when Maria was subbing at our school that if given the chance, she would hire her in a minute because she's such a hard worker. She comes to Lockford School, the second night custodian in a year, only to be overloaded with work and then written up when that work couldn't be successfully completed to the satisfaction of the administrator. Teachers overall have been very satisfied with Maria's work. We are, for the most part, left stumped by these write-ups, the demands on her, and now her removal from our school. The last 2 night custodians have been overloaded. They have been told to not talk to the teachers because they don't have time, while our day custodian walks around chatting with staff and acts like he has all the time in the world. The night custodian is responsible for 14 bathrooms at Lockford School, 6 of which are multiple stall and sink bathrooms, 21 classrooms, and only half of those classrooms get vacuumed daily because the secretary at our school demands that the office is detailed every single day. So, of course, the office needs to be detailed daily. That's mandatory. The teacher workroom must be cleaned and the floors in the teacher's lounge. Now, let's be honest. Can all of this get done in a little over 6 hours? Because she gets a break and she gets lunch. So she gets a little over 6 hours to clean all of that. The administration has promised that they were looking into adding an extra hour to this position because it's clearly needed. They could clearly tell that the work could not get done, but that never happened. So if this is known that we need an extra hour, why is she being written up? As well as the last custodian who was transferred. Why not have that day custodian help with that workload? So please understand that we as teachers at Lockford School just want fairness in the way that all employees are treated, even probationary employees. Setting any group or person up to fail and allowing them no rights helps no one. Every one employed for this district share the same philosophy, I hope, to make these schools a great place for our children, the children that we educate here. I will now read a letter written by and signed by 18 of 21 teachers at Lockford School, all of whom feel Maria should be given a chance to successfully complete her last 2 months of probation at another site. I will follow that letter if I have time with the one that I personally wrote for her. To whom it concerns, this letter is being written to recommend Maria Mice for future employment. She has been a dedicated member of our staff here at Lockford School for a year. She is conscientious, hardworking, and trustworthy. Maria has many responsibilities as our night custodian. She takes care of many classrooms and restrooms. Maria keeps them clean and ready for students and staff. Maria is always eager to lend a helping hand and goes out of her way to ensure her job is done to the best of her ability. Maria will be a positive and valuable asset to any employer. Please feel free to contact any of us for any additional information or questions. And like I said, 18 out of 21 teachers signed this. So her being dismissed because she was not doing a good job and that teachers were complaining, not true. My letter that I wrote to Maria, to whom it concerns, I am writing this letter to recommend Maria Mines for any future employment that she may be seeking. I've had the privilege of working with her for the last year at Lockford School in the Lodi Unified School District. Maria is enthusiastic, dedicated, hardworking, and determined to succeed. She goes over and above to ensure her job is done and done well. As a custodian at Lockford School, Maria has many responsibilities, and cleaning my room is one of them. She always leaves my room looking fresh, tidy, and ready for the next day. I can honestly say that she is one of the best custodians that I have ever worked with in the 20 years that I have been employed with Lodi Unified. I'm truly honored to know Maria and feel she would be a positive addition to any staff or team. Please don't hesitate to call with questions or for any further information. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Robin Horton.
Good evening, President Freitas and fellow board members and Dr. Washer. I am here just to read my letter of recommendation that I chose to write for Maria Mize to go along with my fellow teachers here. To whom it may concern, I am writing this letter as a recommendation for Maria Mize for her interest in pursuing future employment. I have worked with Maria Mize from March 2015 to February 2016 at Lockford School Elementary School in Lodi Unified School District. I am a teacher at Lockford School, and Maria Mize was our night custodian. I have taught here for 13 years and for Lodi Unified District for a total of 21 years. I've worked at a number of different school sites over my 21-year career and worked with a number of different custodians over the years. My classroom was on her list of responsibilities. She was by far the best night custodian I have had in 21 years with Lodi Unified. She always had my room properly vacuumed, dusted, spiderwebs removed, trash emptied, etc. She is the only custodian that I've ever had that actually wiped down the desk like she was supposed to. I would describe Maria Mize as honest, responsible, conscientious, dependable, as well as friendly and easy to work with. These are all great qualities to have in an employee. I have appreciated her hard work and dependability during the time we worked together, and she would make a great addition to your staff and team. As well as my letter, I have an additional letter written by Jackie Tyrell, our speech therapist. She was unable to stay, so I'd like to read that. To whom it may concern, it is with my pleasure that I write this letter of recommendation for Maria Mize. I met Maria when she became the night custodian at Lockford Elementary School in Lodi Unified School District in April 2015. I've always been impressed with Maria's willingness to help others, even when that meant creating additional work for herself. She personally helped me on more than one occasion when I was unable to complete physical tasks on my own. She is dependable and hardworking. My workspace was always clean when she was our night custodian. This was not always the case prior to her employment at Lockford School. She will be an asset to any organization she should choose to work with. It is without reservation that I recommend Maria Mize, as she is trustworthy, honest, and dependable. And that's from Jackie Tyrell. And I don't know if I stated my name. My name's Robin Horton. Thank you for letting me speak this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr. Hurley.
Yes. Kind of just one quick comment on this. I'm not going to talk about the case. I just want to thank you guys for coming out.
Very, very much so. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, President Freitas, members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Washer. I'm present to speak about apparently what would have become my two favorite topics, Avid and Henderson Community Day School. First, I'd like to acknowledge the progress that's made within our district regarding Avid implementation. We have over 180 participants scheduled for the Sacramento Summer Institute, along with site administrators from nearly all of the elementary and middle school sites. There's a one-day training for district personnel, and I think it would be ideal for the assistant superintendents of elementary and secondary to participate in order to reinforce the importance of implementing these proven and successful techniques for our students. We more than doubled the number of national staff developers from our district this year, with 5 individuals being selected out of 1,200 applicants nationwide for these highly desired positions. So there is progress, and we have to thank our district Avid coach for her efforts. I was looking at our district priorities, and one of our first priority is consistent use of effective instructional strategies to enable all students to learn Common Core standards. Avid is a proven program of effective instruction strategies. However, there are still Title I elementary schools that are not participating in Avid. I became aware of this when I received this. This is our information for No Child Left Behind for students from Sutherland. And the school that they are to go is to Houston. Well, Houston does not have Avid. Our students are prepared at Sutherland in Avid from K all the way through 6th. And then they are, if they so choose, through National No Child Left Behind, which they have the right to, and our district would provide transportation, they would lose access to the program. I see a problem with that. Not only is Houston not participating in Avid, but also Victor and Washington elementary schools. Why Washington Elementary School is not implementing Avid is a mystery to me, since implementation should be a district priority and not a site decision. The program works for students. Henderson Community Day School does not also participate in Avid despite serving extremely vulnerable students who will benefit from the organizational skills, agenda planning, and note-taking strategies taught in the Avid Bridges program. Speaking of Henderson, we received this flyer I'd like to show you on Thursday, February 25th, for a parent information meeting that's going to be occurring tomorrow night. I've been requesting this information from the site principal through our principal for 6 weeks, and this is what arrived on Thursday for tomorrow night's meeting. There are no directions, no translation in Spanish, no district logo, and no program description. I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm tattling on somebody, but I did email the principal and our principal regarding this, and I've not received a response. I think we have to do better, and I know that you believe that we need to do better. We demonstrate our priorities in the school system in really 2 areas. One is our schedule, and the other is the personnel. We're currently reviewing our scheduling priorities. When I talk about personnel, I'm not talking about the people that are in position, but the actual positions. I would like you to consider, before adding any additional instructional personnel at the district office level, to consider that we have 2 gate coaches, 1 district science coach, and 1 district Avid coach. I think that speaks for itself. Please understand that I only want what's best for our students, particularly those with a high risk of school failure. We're making progress in Avid implementation, but we still have a lot more to go. And I implore you, in your leadership role, to settle for nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Shaughnessy Larson. Hello.
Hello, my name is Shaughnessy Larson. Thanks for having me. President Freitas and Mrs. Washer, or Dr. Washer and board.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I didn't prepare any official comments, so I'm just going to speak from my heart. I have three children in the school district here, and we have had just back-to-back wonderful teachers over the years, and we've been so happy. So I have so many good things to say. My oldest child stepped up to 7th grade this year, and he is a student at Elkhorn, there's many good things, but we've been a little shocked with the lack of challenge this year. And I just felt like I needed to speak to what was going on. Specifically, there were 3 very key areas. It was Spanish and science and math. Just not feeling like they were learning or that they were being taught at a very low level, and which was really disappointing to us after all these many years of excellent education that really challenged and engaged them. We just wanted to see that carry over. And so I know that the principal there has been working on different areas. One area that I would really like to focus in on tonight is math. Something was changed this year at Elkhorn that had never been done before, and that is, let me just back up. In 7th grade, and you probably know this, so we bring kids from all over the district, and so they've all had different backgrounds, and they're all GATE, but they may be gifted in different areas. Some may be very gifted in language arts, and some may be gifted in math. But as they come together, they also may have different experiences and backgrounds. If they have been part of a strong cluster program, or if they've been part of a self-contained program, a GATE program, then a lot of times they've had opportunities to move farther and faster and really tackle some interesting curriculum. And then when they came into junior high, what we noticed is everyone was lumped together, and they weren't divided up in the core areas based on their where they were last year. And my feeling is that every child in this district would be served by a constant progression in their education. And if we could achieve a constant progression in their education, then everyone by the end of high school would graduate with the how do I say, the best that they could be. I mean, as far as they could go. I want that for everyone. But what we have found this year is really not that. What we have found is they've been asked to sit in a class and listen and to the same things that they've already learned in 5th and 6th grade, that they have, we've done 3 quarters and we've had no new information at all. And these are children who love to learn. So this is really disappointing to them, that they are just sitting there learning nothing for month after month after month. We're the 3rd quarter and we don't have any new information. So I looked into this in other districts because I know that all California-wide is Common Core. And so we're all in the same boat, and I understand that. But if you take a look at other sites that have some extremely strong programs, they're doing it a little bit differently. And I think we need to maybe look outside our district and learn how they're doing it, because there's always the opportunity for improvement. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for improvement here. So one thing that's happening is they're taking kids from where they are, and for if you look at the San Ramon website, Winmere, who is an exceptional school, for their Common Core, they will actually test and see how they're doing. And the ones that are ready for more, they'll say, you're going to be in a Common Core Plus class. And with a Common Core Plus class, there's a little rule saying, if you want to be a part of this class, you be ready, because this is going to be a little bit harder than you're used to. We're going to add some stuff, and you know what? The homework policy doesn't apply for this class either. So if you're ready for this, here's an opportunity for you to go on if you want. And then these kids have the opportunity to learn Common Core plus some extra things. When we went to the National Science Bowl competition, we were blown away by what they could do. These kids are doing Common Core class, and they are amazing.
and we have some very strong kids in our class, but it was really disappointing for us because of 50 math questions, they could just get them like that. We answered 1 out of 50, and I had the winners of the elementary science math Olympiad competition and the winner of the junior high math Olympiad competition on my team. These kids are bored in class for 3 months, and then they go to a national competition and they can't compete. There's something wrong with that. They shouldn't be bored every day and then not be able to compete with the other districts. These are the same kids they're going to compete with for college. These are the same kids they're going to compete with for, all those programs. And I think we don't serve anyone by not allowing kids to keep progressing in their education. We need a constant progression. So love all the teachers we've had, and even love the math teacher at Elkhorn. The only thing I'm saying is let's not shackle her and tie her down and chain her and say you have to teach just this and only this. Let's give people some freedom. Let's let the kids who want to go on. They know that if they're going to take this challenge on, that they may have a little bit more homework than everyone else. Let them take on the challenge if they want to. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
Thank you.
Excuse me, have you been able to talk to anyone else about this within the system?
Yes, we have had a meeting, multiple meetings with our principal. We've also had a group meeting where we had 6 parents come together and speak with our principal. We've written multiple letters to the principal as well, and we've talked to I didn't actually get to talk to the assistant superintendent, but I talked to Mrs. Lampkin, but I talked to her. I wasn't able to get to her. I talked to Desiree Weiss as well. And I've talked to my board member, Mr. Talkin, as well. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Chairman Matthews.
Respected board members and Superintendent Washer, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you as a concerned parent at Elkhorn. I'm one of 7 parents who have come out here today. We've given up our evening with our families to come and talk to you. I'm a professor at UOP. I'm quite involved at the school at Elkhorn. I coach Science Olympiad there. I coach Math Olympiad there. In fact, Math Olympiad, we were here last year because we won the tournament in the district. Elkhorn did. Why am I here and why are so many parents here? We have some serious concerns about middle school education at Elkhorn. Like Dr. Larson mentioned, we've had a fantastic experience at elementary, and we put in for the lottery and we got in. We're very happy to get into the middle school through lottery. But there have been serious concerns. And like Dr. Larson mentioned, concerns have been expressed over the course of the year, but lately a group of 6 parents brought concerns to the principal, and we felt we are not really getting any acknowledgement of whether any of our concerns are valid, and subsequently we put things in writing. Like Dr. Larson mentioned, she attempted to reach the superintendent's office. I have to acknowledge that today we did receive a call from their office, but it was just today. They already made plans to come. Okay, let me begin with concerns regarding science. Our science teacher is new. She's in her first year at Elkhorn. Last year, the established science teacher for many years had to leave suddenly, I believe, due to illness. I want to give you a picture of what is happening in the science classroom. A typical class period. A few students are asked to read sections aloud from the text. Once the reading is done, they're asked to work on the end of chapter summary and the assessment section from the text. All the while, the teacher is seated at her desk. I think you will agree that this is not an appropriate way to engage students in a GATE school, in a GATE classroom. The children ought to have their interest stimulated, their minds challenged in the classroom, and this is not happening. Our children are not learning, they're frustrated, they're bored, they're becoming cynical. As I mentioned, 17 parents actually signed a letter expressing this and other concerns regarding science teaching. I urge you to please take corrective action. Our children have already lost out on 1 year of science. They deserve a GATE qualified science teacher for next year. Now on to Spanish. Again, the Spanish teacher is also in his first year at Alcorn. We lost 2 established teachers and 2 new people came on board. Things have been really bad in Spanish through the year, and it has been pretty much evident to the principal. What happens in Spanish typically is at the beginning of the class period, the teacher gives an assignment. The students really don't know Spanish, they've not really learned much, they haven't really been taught. So what they do apparently is they are able to click on check answer. They find the answers and put them down, and everybody gets high grades. After giving the assignment for the day, the teacher starts talking about random subjects. One day, most of the period was spent talking in English about what would happen if Donald Trump became president. Most of another class period was spent with the teacher talking to one student about the Star Wars movie. The other students were spectators. Can this really be happening in a public school classroom in 2016? The Spanish teacher recently announced that he would not be returning next year. We are glad to hear that we'll be getting a new one. But is it possible to salvage what's left of the rest of this year? Can we possibly have a substitute if nothing is happening? Finally, faculty searches have to happen in Spanish, hopefully in science, and also in a new engineering type class, which the principal plans to introduce. She's mentioned that she's going to introduce a new engineering type class next year. And we're concerned that if positions are not posted early and a wide search as possible is conducted, we may have a repeat of what happened last year, which is last minute search, and we got 2 people who had not worked out very well. And we beg you to please not allow this to happen again. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mary Ellison?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I appreciate the fact that parents and teachers and members of the board, etc., can get together and have discussions like this. I am a parent of 3 students in the Lodi Unified School District, one at Lodi High, one at Alcorn School, and one at Vinewood School. I'm very involved with science and math, volunteering in all the schools. You may be able to tell from my accent that I'm not from around here. I moved here from Wisconsin, and the reason we moved to Lodi, we could have lived anywhere in the Central Valley, was because of the schools. I saw that Alcorn School was one of the best schools in Northern California. I want my children to go there. My son went to Alcorn School, and now he's at the top of his junior class in high school. He's taking calculus. He'll be taking another year of calculus next year. I'm very proud of that fact. All the teachers that we've had throughout the years have been very excellent. They've learned up to their achievable capacity. However, I'm concerned about the condition at Alcorn School currently. I think that the children are not being challenged like they should be. The classes, especially the math class, is not leveled, like Dr. Larson was saying. I feel that it would be more beneficial to the students to have levels in the math class, so that the students who would like to take on a challenge should be able to achieve at their highest level. And I've recently become aware that if my daughter, who's in 8th grade right now at Alcorn School, if she wants to be in the higher level math in high school, she has to take summer school math. She wasn't very happy about that situation. So I would like it to be at Alcorn School, since I have a 6th grader coming in, that the math classes be leveled, and that there's an opportunity for them to take that summer school course that they need for high school in their last quarter of 8th grade. I would just like to remind you of one of the Lodi Unified School District's value statements, which says, and I just looked this up before I came, we value high student achievement and accomplishment. And one of the vision statements, each student realizes his or her maximum potential. So I would just beg you to let that happen. At Alcorn School is a perfect place for each student to achieve their maximum potential. So in summary, I would like to say that I would like level classes to reappear They used to have level classes there, but this year they decided to make all the classes even. And I would like to not have to take my son or daughter to take summer school to achieve that higher level in high school. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much. Brandon Matthews? Good evening.
Good evening. Respected Superintendent.
You're gonna have to pull that microphone down.
Respected
It's all got
Superintendent.
before you, I think, left and up.
I know, yeah. Respected Superintendent and board members. I'm a concerned parent whose child attends Elkhorn Middle School. We considered ourselves very fortunate when our child got into Elkhorn Middle School through the lottery. As my children attended Elkhorn Elementary, I expected them to be challenged similarly in middle school as well. We are thankful for the very good teachers we have, but this past year has been a very disappointing one in terms of core subjects like science and math that are imperative for students to be proficient at in middle school. Our children who attend this Gate School have found themselves bored, not engaged, and certainly not challenged in these subjects. Spanish, as you have heard, has also been substandard. One more year of this is unacceptable, and we who have been proud of this school in the past feel immediate action is required to save the remaining year and to bring about effective change next year by hiring competent and passionate teachers. We're very invested in the school. Dr. Larson and I run Geography B, and we head up the Elementary Science Olympiad team. We love the school. Our children love the school, and it really pains us to see this happen. Of late, we have found that we are the only passionate people really about the education in the school. We love the elementary school teachers have been wonderful, and so have many middle school, but we have really been disappointed. And our children have been disappointed. And we really feel like if, as parents, we have missed the ball by not doing anything sooner this year because our concerns really weren't addressed. Thank you very much to all the board members who have been very receptive to our concerns. We are grateful that you are willing to help us in this endeavor, which we feel is what every child needs, a challenging education. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Because these were not agendized items, the board cannot comment on these, but the board definitely wanted to thank each and every single one of you for coming and each and every one of our speakers for sharing your information with us tonight. Moving back with other items of meeting, we have action items, consent agenda A, routine business. Would any members of the board wish to pull any items from the consent agenda A? Mr. Heverly.
I'd like to pull A4.
Thank you. Any other items?
Mr. President.
Would any members of the public like to pull any items from the agenda? From consent? Yes, Mr. Womack.
I move that we approve other than A4.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Womack, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Talkin, for your second. Mr. Public comment? No?
Yes, I do have a.
Well, I think we put public comment on the remaining items. Then student approval on the remaining items. All right, thank you. And call for the board vote. Items with the exception of A4 passed 7-0. Mr. Heverly, item A4, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions for clarification, more information. What's the plan for a food truck? I know when you say food truck, you have kind of a picture in your mind, but then when you talk about a mobile kitchen, that gives you a different picture in your mind. So I'm not sure where we are with this.
Our picture's going to be on the outside of it, of course.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Right. Board Member Heverly, I would like to call up Nancy Rossonelli, who's our Director of Nutrition Services, to answer your question.
Thank you.
our pictures will be on the outside of it, right?
That's negotiable.
By the way, I saw your crew at Ag Venture today, they did a very nice job.
Thank you. It was a great event today, and we also were at Larson School reading in the classroom for Dr. Seuss's birthday and Read Across America today, and doing apple tastings for 10 apples up on top. So kind of a busy day for us today. In regards to the mobile kitchen / food truck, the vision that you may have is, if I could use the term loosely, taco truck, that will allow us to serve the food insecure neighborhoods in Stockton during the summer feedings, is what the basis of the grant was written and awarded for. And then instead of leaving the truck idle for the remainder of the school year, it will allow us to do other avenues and provide other reimbursable service lines at our secondary school sites, as well as provide us with a mobile kitchen in case of emergency situations where we're not able to access our kitchens, and be part of the RIMS piece of that if there's ever a situation where we need to feed a community in an emergency situation.
And board meetings, you could set it up outside.
That answers my questions. I was just kind of concerned how the whole thing was put together and what our ideas were. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Everly, you have a motion?
And with that, I'll move to approve.
Thank you. Mr. Neely, is that your second? Further comment from the board? No? Yes, I stand corrected. Any comments from the public? Student approval? Thank you. Call for the vote. And this very innovative and exciting venture is approved 7-0. Thank you very much for bringing this to us. Consent agenda, student discipline cases. Is that correct?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Everly, for your second. There's no student vote on this. Call for the vote. And item is approved 7-0. Other action items. First other action item that we have tonight is our next generation science standards, grade 6 through 8 pathway recommendations. The wonderful Ms. Katelski.
President Freitas, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. I'm here along with our instructional coach for science, Shirley Cunningham, and we have a couple of teachers in the back here also that will participate if so asked to do so. We're here to present the grades 6 through 8 science pathway recommendation. And I'm going to turn it over to Shirley because she presented this to our curriculum council, and it was approved by curriculum council at our last meeting. And so I'm going to turn it over to Shirley. And
good evening, Mr. President, board members, Dr. Washer. Thank you for having me back. So we convened a grade 6 through 8 science pathway committee. The committee members were Nicole Dickinson, Cheryl Houston, Danielle Kendall, LaDonna Means, Jenna Powell-Freeman, Lori Rugsegger, and Josh Sandler. The committee members had a wide range of teaching, professional development, and leadership experiences. And you can see we spanned the grades of 6 through 8. And then we also had a vice principal, Lori Rugsegger from Morgan and Sutherland. She split between the two sites. The task of the committee was to review the model course mapping in middle school for the Next Generation Science Standards, or NGSS. The committee was then to develop a recommendation, which was shared with the Curriculum Council, as Ms. Kotowski stated, on February 11th of 2016. Curriculum Council approved the recommendation from the Science Pathway Committee for grades 6 through 8. We held 4 committee meetings. The first committee meeting was at the San Joaquin County Office of Education. We attended a workshop that took us through a task of comparing middle school standards, the integrated model versus the discipline-specific model, as well as the 1998 standards, to get a good look or a deeper understanding of what the changes were going to be with the move to NGSS. Our second meeting was also held at the San Joaquin County Office of Education. We were lucky enough to be able to review the draft of the framework that California is revising. California is revising our national framework to be a California version of the framework for K-12 science education. We attended that meeting and went through the middle school section of the framework, as well as chapter 1 and chapter 2, which were some introductory information. Our third meeting, the committee was given information, research, appendices from Next Generation Science Standards. They looked through all of that information and did a comparison of the integrated model versus the discipline-specific model. And then we had a fourth meeting where the committee came together and made their recommendation. They worked with me on the PowerPoint that you see before you today, as well as looking at rationale for the decision, or I'm sorry, the recommendation that they were making. There's just a short, I think, 1 and 50-second video that I'd like to show you, and the next couple of slides also it's an overview of the Next Generation Science Standards. The committee felt that it was important to bring this information to you.
In today's ever technologically advancing world, we are living at the speed of science. And we need to educate our students to be scientifically literate, ready to ask questions, define problems, investigate, analyze data, construct explanations, and design solutions, ready to take on the future. The Next Generation Science Standards provide an important opportunity to improve not only science education, but also student achievement, reflecting a new vision for American science education, creating a context for learning, comprehending the core knowledge and ideas, and engaging in scientific and engineering practices helps to prepare students for broader understanding and deeper levels of scientific and engineering investigation later on in high school, college, and beyond. 5 states, 4 states. The Next Generation Science Standards were developed by a team of experts and stakeholders in science and engineering, K-12 and higher education, and industry, in an open, collaborative, state-led process. The standards are internationally benchmarked against countries whose students perform well in math and science. Implementing improved K-12 science standards will better prepare high school graduates to succeed in college and careers, enabling employers to hire workers with strong science-based knowledge and skills, critical thinking, and inquiry-based problem solving. Educating students for the future. Educating students at the speed of science. The Next Generation Science Standards. 4 states, 5 states.
Okay, and then so I'd like to give you a little bit of information about the timeline that we're looking at for Next Generation Science Standards.
This module is part of the course awareness. It's one of the basics. Next Generation.
Okay, so we started with the middle school pathways because essentially we had all of the information that we needed to make that decision on whether to recommend the discipline-specific or the integrated pathway for the district. Next year, we will be looking at a high school pathway committee, so high school will be faced with the same decisions. Currently, we do not have all the information that we need to make that decision. The Next Generation Science Standards started out with 2 high school pathways, a 4-year discipline-specific course and a 3-year integrated course, and 3 more pathway options have been added. There's been an accelerated 2-year course added, and as well, the assessment for high school has not been determined yet, whether it's going to be an integrated assessment or a discipline-specific assessment, nor has it been decided the year that assessment will be given in. So I put out committee applications for the high school teachers to apply to create this high school committee. So we're beginning that this year, but I wouldn't foresee a decision until sometime towards the middle of next school year.
Yeah, I'd like to ask some questions as we go along here.
Okay.
I kind of read forward on this
Okay.
a little bit, so I know it's not. But I just have some questions about, so the NGSS only starts at 6th grade?
No,
No?
it's K-12. And K-12 is written integrated currently.
Now, that's what I read. We don't have anything up here as far as the lower grades. I didn't see anything anyway. It seems like we're concentrating on middle school.
No, K-5 will not be faced with a decision on
Okay.
whether they want to go discipline specific or integrated.
Got it.
The issue
Okay,
is
now that makes sense.
Okay, the
Yep.
middle school and high school will have to choose how science is going to be taught now. Whether
Okay.
it's going to be subject specific or whether the 3 subjects of physical life and earth science will be taught in one school year. K-5 is currently set up that way, and they don't plan on giving them any other options.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Could I ask a question, unless I'm misunderstanding something here? I see that the elementary level is approaching it one way. The middle school is approaching it slightly different. And the high school could go a different path. In other words, the K-12 program will not be taught the same way.
Well, if I can answer, Mr. Tompkins?
Sure.
The K-5 program is integrated.
Okay.
And when we met with the 6, 7, and 8, which is how the next generation science standards are grouped together, the committee had that choice to decide whether or not they would be integrated or discipline specific. It's my understanding, and I'm not the expert in science, so I will refer to Cheryl Lee, but it's my understanding that next generation science standards were initially integrated 6, 7, and 8, but when California got involved for California standards, they allowed districts to have 2 options, go integrated or stay discipline specific. But even if we stay discipline specific, the content in those disciplines would slightly change, just as it has with the mathematics program. So when we say discipline specific, it's not as we see it today. Did I make that completely coffee and mud for you? I'm sorry.
Well, no, in a unified school district, I always envision what starts in kindergarten goes all the way up to grade 12 in a very similar fashion. And the only thing that really concerns me is if we've made the decision K-5, now we're looking at making the decision 6, 8. And then somewhere along the line, we're going to make it 9, 12. And I'm wondering, are we going to be compatible all the way from kindergarten through grade 12? Because that aspect does worry me.
Currently, K-5 should be integrated. They teach physical, earth, and life science in K-5 in a single year. But the publishers create books that separate those subjects from one another. They have an A book, a B book, and a C book for science. So the science is not taught in a true integrated fashion in K-5 as we see it now. They just get a taste of all 3 sciences in 1 year. Then they move currently to 6th grade earth science, 7th grade life science, and 8th grade physical science. So currently right now, the system that we have does not transition well when you look at it compared to an integrated model of the next generation science standards. But that subject specific model continues in high school currently. So K-5 will continue to stay the same with a bit of content shift. There were no changes that they faced. There was no alternative model offered. In 2013, the State Board of Education unanimously approved the integrated model. But then California, I think due to grumblings or whatever it may have been, they were asked to present an alternative discipline-specific model, as was shown in the Appendix K of NGSS. So that's what California did. They made an alternative discipline-specific model, but the state preferred model is that integrated model. And then high school came into question of what is high school going to do? Is it going to be integrated or is it going to be subject-specific? And so then that discussion began. There were two models originally offered for high school, again, a discipline-specific model and an integrated model. And now there have been 3 more models added to high school. I don't know if that helped.
So what she's saying is the decision-making things that we would want to consider for data to gather, the assessment pieces, the pathway pieces, the curriculum pieces for high school, we don't have all of that information yet to make that decision, to make a good educated decision. We do have that for 6, 7, and 8. And if we decide to go integrated, which the committee recommended, that does not preclude us from staying specific, discipline specific of high school. It doesn't, they don't hinge together. The students will come out of 8th grade knowing the same information they should have known to be prepared for a discipline specific content at high school. And we know the information that we need to make a decision at middle school, and we kind of want to start preparing our teachers with that information so that we don't get identified as being behind the 8 ball on this one.
Could you explain what that information entails? What is it that
we know about in middle
to,
school?
make that you now don't have for science? So what's the difference?
Oh, for high school versus middle school. So for middle school, we had all of the pathways, the optional pathways written out by the state of California, which were actually just 2 for middle school, as well as information on what the assessment was going to be, or the format of the assessment, and when the assessment would be given. So the middle school assessment will be given in 8th grade, and it will be an integrated assessment. So unlike the CST that the students currently take, which is, I'd say probably 80% physical science, 20% astronomy, it will be a truly integrated assessment that will have life science, earth science, and physical sciences on it. So with that information, we knew we were able to, we knew what our kids needed through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Currently, we have the pathway options for high school, but there has not been a decision made in high school for the assessment, whether it's going to be integrated or discipline specific, and what grade it will be given in.
So let me ask then, it sounds like you're saying in 6, 7, 8, by the completion of 8th grade, either pathway, they'll have the same information.
Correct.
Okay. One of the things that kind of struck me when I saw this is that I had assumed that, apparently incorrectly, that I made it abundantly clear that I wanted to know the information when we got it. And I've mentioned that in individual meetings, I've mentioned it at board meetings, Dr. Washer, that when meetings or committees meetings are held, when there's any information, I would like to know that so I can kind of be up on it and not, I guess, find out at the last minute. So that's something, we're going to have to work through. One of the things now that kind of gets me is, so what then, if this went through Curriculum Council, which is later in the presentation, what did they see? What did they look at curriculum-wise?
Mr. Headley, would it be helpful if, we're on slide 6 of 13, if we finish the presentation? And
that would be fine.
Because the 13th slide says questions with question marks. And I think we all have a ton of them, but maybe to pick this off piecemeal, on a night that we have a full agenda may not be the most efficient way to do this. So why don't we receive the presentation and then go from there.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay, so 2017-18 is science's is the year for science to adopt curriculum. That curriculum will enter into classrooms 2018-19, as well as 18-19 school year will be giving the operational NGSS assessment. Just a little bit about what the integrated model is versus the discipline-specific model, which we've kind of gone over, so I'll just go through this quickly. The integrated model interweaves science disciplines of life, earth, and physical sciences in a developmentally appropriate progression. The discipline-specific model, each grade level focuses in depth on a different science discipline. And as Ms. Katowski mentioned, the committee unanimously recommends that the district adopt the integrated model for grades 6 through 8. The committee viewed this decision from the lens of what is best for our students as a whole, and secondarily, the committee discussed staff and district considerations. The committee's rationale was that this is a developmentally appropriate progression through content styling that creates a deeper understanding of complex science phenomena. It also allows for high student engagement by allowing students to experience authentic real-world science. The life, the earth, and physical sciences are not exclusive from one another. When you go out to the real world, you're not just looking at a scientist that says, oh, okay, well, I just have to deal with physical science. They're looking at all the sciences. So we want our students to experience that same thing. Better preparation for the integrated state assessment that will be taken in 8th grade. Students will be able to revisit concepts to build on prior knowledge. And there's a report put out by Achieve that studied 10 countries and that were producers of scientific innovation, and they scored high on internationally benchmarked tests. Out of those 10 countries, all of them chose an integrated path for middle school. 7 of the 10 countries chose a an integrated path up through 10th grade. Considerations for staff and district. Teachers do remain highly qualified to teach integrated sciences. There are some credentialing issues, very small, and we can go into those in detail if you would like. But there was an article also put out that stated that the content would not be an issue. Some teachers feel that they are not, that they have a biology degree, how are they going to teach physical science? But at the level that they've learned the science that they have, that is teaching in the integrated model. Now this encourages collaboration across grade spans. So looking at vertical teaming, having 6th grade teachers being helped by 7th grade teachers, and then the 8th grade teachers talking to high school. Targeted support from the state and at the county level due to the state's recommendation of the integrated model. Because it's the preferred model, there will be more assistance out there in terms of professional development, materials, a wider availability of curriculum and resources for our teachers. The committee also, on the last meeting that we had, talked about a recommendation for development of a progressive implementation plan. Instead of just saying in 2018-19, here's your new textbook, go NGSS, go integrated, that there are some models out from other districts that do a progressive implementation plan, so there's not a gap in content for our students. Our next committee meeting will be held March 3rd, this Thursday, at the district. Questions?
Mr. Heberly.
How did you know I had a question?
I greatly appreciate your patience.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It doesn't matter to me. Can we go to slide 11, please? Page 11. I guess the first question is that first bullet point is about the teacher credentialing. So right now it is subject specific when we're doing hiring and so forth for middle school science teachers.
Yes.
Okay. And so what we're saying then that that's out the window.
No.
Why? If they're all going to be.
The way that the credentials are given is that the discipline-specific teachers are also able to teach an integrated science at that level. The only teachers that are affected are teachers that hold specialized credentials, and in 2012, 2013, the CTC pulled together their data about credentialing for that year, and it affected about 8% of the credentials for single subject that were given out. And then they developed a timeline, and I don't know if CTC gave that to the teachers or how that was disseminated, but they developed a timeline to let teachers fix their credentials by either taking more content through schooling, or they can take the CSET to become subject-specific or single subject-specific credentialed. But it's about 8%. And the specialized credential was created in 2003. I think it was 2003, because we were lacking high school science teachers. So they offered the specialized credential that second career professionals could obtain, so that we could increase the number of science high school teachers that we had, because it was hard finding them. So that's the population that's affected by the credentialing.
It's a very small amount throughout the state.
Yeah.
Right, so, if we have a teacher that's been in the district teaching before the 2003 specialized credential, you're saying that they've got to go back and either challenge the CSET or take other courses or both. And if we're going to require that, we pay for that, correct?
I'm not exactly sure how many teachers we have in Lodi Unified. The number of teachers statewide that have this issue is very small. What was the number that they shared with you? 125, something like that, throughout the whole state. So I'm not even sure that we have teachers that are identified with this issue in our in Lodi Unified. But if they had to, we've always given teachers that opportunity to reimburse them for things that are required for something like this.
So it sounds like if I'm a biology teacher in 8th grade, I'm also then instantly qualified to teach physical science.
Yes. In the integrated.
In the
Yes.
integrated.
Yes.
As soon as we say integrated, I become qualified.
Yes. Well, and currently I have a biological sciences degree, and I taught physical science for all of the years at Crystal McAuliffe, which is not
Right.
life
But-
sciences.
So then our hiring, and that's what I'm kind of worried. I don't want us to get in the middle of a landmine field here and find out the oops, because the state has kind of odd ways of doing things, if you've noticed. So when we hire someone for high school, they have to be specific, okay? But we're saying now for middle school, we do not. Have we in the past? Is that how we did it? I mean, it's an instant change? I I don't know.
That's not something that I'm qualified to answer in terms of, I think that would be something that Mr. McKilligan would address. But from what our knowledge is, it should not affect teachers. And I believe, if I understand correctly the process, the CTC has already contacted those individuals that have those credentials at the middle school, the 6 through 8, that could be an issue to prepare them about knowledge, to give them the knowledge.
So they would know who they are?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, if we could, let's go ahead down page 11 some more. What is targeted support?
Oh, target support would mean that if we're looking for support for our teachers in terms of professional development, that they would get what they need, because the majority of districts are choosing the integrated model. So that's where the professional development is going to lean towards. And so if our teachers need assistance with this integrated model, they'd be able to easily find it.
The integrated model in general, not in specific area of, like, biology and physical. Not that, it would be more how you implement.
No, it would be content, and the county is offering content-based professional development for teachers even currently. So they would also do content. It would be how to do three-dimensional lesson planning, and then also the content with that.
Okay. On the very last one, it says a wider availability of materials and resources. What kinds of materials and resources are we thinking about here? Because now every classroom is going to have, because of the spiraling, it's going to have a need for everything in every classroom at every grade level.
Correct. Right, it says a wider availability would mean, what I mean by that, or what the committee talked about, I should say, is that the publishers are going to be making integrated curriculum. And so that'll give us a wider variety to choose from when we go to adopt curriculum. Any district that would choose the discipline-specific model, I would say that they would be hard-pressed to find curriculum that would fit that model.
Okay, we kind of went down this road with when we did the math adoption because of the change, and there was always that lag time for the publishers to sell their materials. So we're kind of there now. We have, at this point, we have a theoretical pathway, but a choice of pathways, but there is actually no materials, no curriculum to grab and say, here's how I do it.
No, there is
So
not.
all digital, we wouldn't have that problem, right?
However they get it. I mean,
At this point, it's you're asking a kind of a double-edged kind of question, because this California state also has the framework that is being developed, which would lead publishers to submit the materials for approval. That doesn't mean we don't have publishers that have integrated materials right now available for sale. It just means that they haven't gone through, California hasn't gone through its framework process to be approved and to be on a recommended list for approval. Because we do have opportunities. There are materials out there for us to purchase right now. We're just hesitant to go forward with that if they're not going to be on the recommended list for California.
Sure.
But we could, if we wanted to, there are materials out there.
And that's just the instructional materials, text-wise or digital, or however they're going to do it. What was the other one? You don't have to go to page 9, but on that they said authentic real-world science. To me, what that means is that you kind of culminate what you've been taught and do some kind of a lab or experiment.
And the authentic real-world science would be experiencing all three sciences.
So let's stick with the lab stuff.
Okay.
Materials and things for labs. How is that put out into the classes?
I'm not following your question. Could you kind of,
because right now.
Are you saying how do we make sure that every classroom has all three specific materials? Just like we do now, we will order their materials and get them to them. I mean, that, if this is the process that we're going to go down, and this is the materials that they need, we will provide it to them. And if that means that, I don't believe that we will be buying the same things for each grade level, because those different specific skills and topics at each of the different levels will require some different type of things. But if we have to buy the same thing for 6th, 7th, and 8th, we will.
Right, because 6 instead of grade 6. Instead of them teaching this on the list of standards, they're going to teach this, and then these two down here.
They're currently an integrated 6th grade. 6th grade is currently teaching an integrated science, currently right now. So they do all of that, and we provide them with that material.
Right, and 7 and 8 do not.
Correct.
Okay. You know what, I'll go ahead and yield for a little bit because I know other people have questions.
Mr. Heverly, did you want to ask the credentialing issues?
Well, it was just, I guess, a general question about credentialing in that in middle schools, when, let's say, we need an 8th grade science teacher, as it is now, or in the past. We look for someone in science who has the credentialing that would go for, let's see, what is that? Their physical science in 8th grade. Yeah.
The real answer on credentialing is in the administrator's assignment manual, the credentialing binder for the state of California. Science is the most complex credentialing area. And there's a grid in there with all the disciplines across the top and the different credentials that have been issued over the years, because they've all been different. And they tell you who can do what and who can't. We would have to go to that grid, and I do think this integrating the sciences will cause more credentialing questions and issues to be resolved than the integrated math ever did. Because math simply had a lower level and an upper level, and they had to figure that out. We've got biology, earth science, physical science, chemistry, you name it. And each one, depending on when they earned it, the state considered them able to teach various things. Some can do middle school, some can't. Some can just do like one narrow little subject in one narrow set of grade level. It's been very different over the years what California has done with credentialing, and so it's really complex.
Well, that's exactly why I bring up, it is a worry, because I know there are some very good, specific rules about that, so, yeah, that's definitely a concern.
I think in the middle school, integrating it may not be as complex. They may just have to get to the point where they allow certain, I mean, what are you going to do right now? They do generally break it kind of like you said, life science is generally the 7th grade, and anyway, sort of physical science can cover the 8th. But if they're going to merge them together, I don't know what they're going to do.
Okay.
Other comments from the board? Mr. Neely?
I just want to thank you guys. It looks like you've done a lot of work on this. I'll totally support your recommendation on that. Thank you very much.
Mr.
I
Nava?
want to echo that. Also, you're recommending to develop a progressive implementation plan, and you got that scheduled for March 3rd if you want to know some more about what you're going to be doing. Appreciate your work, and I know that we're making progress in these science standards. Thank you.
Ms. Castle?
We have other science teachers that are on the committee in the audience. Could we be introduced, please?
Oh, they moved up. So we have Nicole Dickinson from Vinewood, and we have Danielle Kendall from Kristen McCullough.
Oh, wonderful. And I wanted to commend you for forming a collaborative committee, that we do a good job of that in this district, of being inclusive and consulting all of our authorities. So thank you for serving on the committee, and thank you for your excellent report.
Any comments from the public? Mr. Womack?
Yes. I see them all day, so we get tired. Actually, I want to commend you too for all the work on that, and I certainly support it. My only question, I guess, is like others, it seems like a lot of this, the state says this and state says that, but different districts are going at this a little differently and at different speeds, correct?
Yes.
So I see another challenge here when we have a transfer in from another school district who's on a total different wavelength, maybe. So how, do we have some discussion on how we would handle that? Or,
I have not discussed with other districts, but I would say the majority of districts will be choosing the integrated path. And I would also say more than likely, they'll be going with a recommended model. So what performance expectations should be taught in what grade level. So hopefully that will alleviate that. The problem that I would see is if the district chose a discipline-specific model and then a student transferring over into an integrated model, that would really cause some problems for that student.
Thank you.
Comments from the public? Mrs. Haverly, I think you can enlighten us a little bit on this subject. Have some experience.
Actually, I have quite a bit of experience with this. Good evening. So I had a couple of questions. One of them was a specific question because we said the majority of the districts are choosing, but do we know what the percentage of the districts are choosing integrated?
Do we know the percentage of districts are choosing the integrated?
No, I don't have a percentage. I know the CSTA president was doing an informal poll at the training that I was at, and that's about all I've seen. I think that because some districts are still in discussion, I don't know if they have a way of collecting all of that information. It's informal, just speaking with others.
It sounds pretty anecdotal at this point, so.
Okay. I was a little surprised that this was a report and a action item at the same time. You know, I guess I'm at the place where I like to see the report, get the feedback, come back, have the discussion again, make sure that all the Ts are crossed and Is dotted, and then it comes forward as an action item. So I hope you would consider postponing it one time as an action item, and then, so people have a chance, if this is like the first blush out there, have a chance to look at this. And I have a couple of other things. So for example, when you're a biological science major, you're required to take chemistry and physics in this part of your background. But if you're a physics person, you're not necessarily required to take biology. So this is one of the things that Mr. McKilligan was saying, is that it gets a little bit complex because science isn't one discipline, it's many disciplines. So I just wanted to make note of that. The other thing is that I do believe that it's important to have people who are experts in areas, because when you know beyond where the students are, what their expectation level is, you can take them to another place. And so I never want us to just say we're going to do the general thing because this is what everybody does. I do have a question about the equipment. Okay. And so I don't know how to share this. I guess I'm going to share some history. So at one point in time, we decided that all the students were going to take college prep laboratory classes, and we didn't have enough equipment for them. And I said that at the district, we don't have enough equipment, and they said, well, we'll buy it. And so they bought some, but they didn't buy enough. And so then they went into our school site budget for our science department, and they bought some out of that. As a matter of fact, they spent all of our science department money so that we didn't have any money to operate on the year to buy our consumables. So I think it's really important that when you're going to make a major step where you're going to be putting new equipment at every level, that there is a for sure 100% that you will buy everything that's needed for every classroom, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, because that was a pretty awful year that we had to make do with the skimpy stuff left over from the previous year. And then there were some labs that we weren't able to do at all. So when they talk about real world science, they're really talking about being able to do things that are content, but also have the activities and the laboratory experiences that are necessary. We did do an integrated thing for a while in the district at Bear Creek, and
everything new is old again. And
pardon?
Everything old is new again. So
yeah, there's always money to be made somewhere. So I would just like to ask that maybe, since this is a first blush at this, and instead of rushing through, is that we take just a moment and say, not that you're not supporting it, but just have a moment to look at it and make sure that this is the way we're going to go. I think it becomes much more complex at the high school, and if we had multiple pathways, that would be extremely expensive to do. So, okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Everly. Yes, Ms. Hennessy?
Larson. I have a PhD in molecular cellular physiology, and Mrs. Dr. Ellison has a PhD in chemistry, and Dr. Matthews has a PhD in engineering. And I would tell you, and I taught years ago. I had a teaching credential 20 years ago and did teach before I went back and got my PhD. And it would terrify me if you threw me into a chemistry class, because I took chemistry at Davis 25 years ago, and I would not feel competent to go into a chemistry class. And yes, I could learn it because I could,
we're learners and we can learn anything, but it would take us several years to come up to speed on that curriculum. Now, here's the problem. I'm looking at your year dates, and my children will be there when those teachers are trying to come up to speed, and it will take them 3 years at least to really feel competent at teaching a subject that they haven't taught in 20, 25 years. And it could not go well. And there's a whole generation, just like we're dealing with math, of education that's lost here. And so I would tell you to be careful, is what I'm saying. For as you go to high school, we could lose a lot of education that kids would then need. And if we considered, again, staying in the core subject areas, we're staying with teachers whose expertise is in that area, who've been teaching it for many years and who are fabulous at it. And for new teachers coming out of whatever program they're in, again, they are very competent in specific areas. And I think any teacher could come up, but it would take a couple of years to really be good at it.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Larson. Any other comments from the public? Any further comments from the board?
Yes.
Mr. Talkin.
I would like to do what Mr. Neely did and compliment the ladies and staff for the wonderful report they did. I'm concerned, and the concerns I have are just what was voiced, but I'm a bigger concern that was mentioned here before, and that deals with science teachers. And are they credentialed? And what happens if and when we make changes at the high school? Because as I said before, I'm a real K-12 believer. And if we make them at 6, 7, and 8, I certainly want to make them at 9 through 12, or not at all. And so I hate to put this on staff, I really do, because I know it's time to hear how busy you are. But I think it's important that we look at science teachers' credentials that we have and see what we would be faced with if we made changes, not only 6, 7, and 8, but 9 through 12. Is that going to create a problem? Because as I understand it, science is one of the subject matters that we have trouble getting teachers in. And if we don't have a plethora of science teachers, then I'd be very worried about us being able to fulfill all of the changes we're going to do.
I have no problem taking a look. But what is it you would like in return? That's the question.
Well, maybe it's a case, where you said the booklet that you have that tells you what teachers can teach what. If they're a chemistry teacher, can they also teach biology? If they're a physics teacher, can they teach marine biology or physical science? What are we faced with if we integrate everything? Will we find out we're going to be 22 science teachers short?
All I'll be able to tell you, and I could tell you for every single teacher in the district, if you want us to go through and do that, we could tell you what each one can teach. What I can't tell you is when they roll this out, what the CTC will allow us to do in this environment. That's what I won't be able to tell you.
I am afraid of that.
See, I think that's the question. We're not talking high school yet.
No,
let me finish this thought. Well, they're going to bring that to us, and of course, I think that probably will be discipline specific. But on an integrated basis here, first of all, 6th grade already does that. Okay, that's a given. So the question becomes, then, as far as credentialing goes, is if the teachers that we have in middle school positions right now, if their credentials will allow them to teach the integrated class. If we can answer that, then I think it's a no-brainer.
I don't know.
The decision here is really just 6, 7, and 8, and it's either integrated or a discipline specific. That's all that we're discussing here at this time.
Yes, 6 isn't an issue. That's multiple subjects at that level.
In saying that, are you then willing to say, if we do integrated K through 8, but we're going to do the other program 9 through 12?
It's not a different program though, Darryl. It's just like a branching out. It's just like when you go to math. Math is pretty much integrated all the way up through, well, 7th, 8th grade, and then we start branching out into other areas. It's okay to get specifics, to train the kids in specific ways, and then let them branch out, let them look for different things. They get a chance to see all of them. They get a chance to make a choice. So, like I say, and there is another committee that's being proposed to handle the high school. So we'll talk about that when we get to that one. But right now, I think that, this is I don't want to get bogged down in all the things that are outside of it. Let's stick with the decision that we have to make. And the big decision on this too, that really helps make us make a decision, is the fact that it's a state preferred model. There will be a lot more adoptions available in that model because there'll be a bigger market. There'll be more schools using it. So that's why I support this. And then when we get to high school, we'll talk again. And I do agree with what Ron says, probably ought to get a little bit more warning on it next time. That's probably going to be a little bit tougher to look at.
Mr. Neely, this is an action item. Are you making a motion?
Before we do that, I have one discussion. If you don't mind.
Of course, I do not mind.
Magnanimous. Benevolent. That's it. Okay, the question that I had originally was, when this went to curriculum council, seeing as how their curriculum, there is no curriculum at this point. There's only bullet points of standards. Is that correct?
Correct. There's a draft of framework.
I'm sorry?
There are the next generation science standards, California version. There's a draft of the framework, which the curriculum will be built off of. There's nothing on the California adoption.
Right. When you say the framework, that's which grade teaches which thing?
The framework is a guide on how to teach the standards. So it gives vignette lessons and ideas of how to sequence the performance expectations in a given grade level.
Okay. Last question. One of the things that this board's been very interested in any subject or any school to school has been articulation. We've always, we really like the idea that our middle schools go to elementary schools, give them an idea of what to expect, and the teachers being able to cross communicate, hopefully. And that allows everybody to know what the expectations here are and what your preparations here are. And I'm a firm believer that, what you set up, just like in math, it didn't really affect 6 too much, but what you start in 7th grade determines what you get at the end of 12th grade. So middle school is a real concern, and it is really important. And you can take that one step farther with the science. I'm glad to see that they've included 6th grade into it, because we have to have this continuity of knowing, I need to know what your expectations are, you need to know what their expectations are as the kids go through the system. And that's why I'm looking at this, and I get it, that we're just talking 6, 7, 8. But really, there's nothing to hold on to here. And that's what I don't get. What did Curriculum Council, what did we give them to look at? I mean, I requested it, I don't know how many times, and I haven't seen anything. And I know a lot of this stuff is kind of theoretical at this point, because after that YouTube thing that we saw tonight, I looked at it, of course, at home, and then looked at it a little bit farther. And everything was to be determined, to be determined, to be determined, maybe, shall, could. I'm going, oh my gosh, what are we doing to these kids again? Which makes it all the more important that we have some kind of communications along the lines. I just think that this is really premature, and I think that this would be great when we talk about what we're going to do with high school, because this should kind of have some kind of impact on that. I just think that the whole system needs to be looked at just like math was. We didn't look at math and say middle school, we said math all the way to the end. So I would kind of prefer that. So what I would like to do is see if there's any interest with my fellow board members is to wait until we see how this is going to play into high school so that we know that we've got things lined out from start to finish. So for that, I will make a motion to see if there's a second and see how the vote goes. If we would table this until we get full articulation so we know pathways start to finish.
Second. Dr. Washer, what would be the consequences of doing that?
Turn over to Lisa. I don't think there's any consequences to that. Or any time, it's not gonna push you back any timeline, required timeline from,
If we don't start moving forward now, and if we were to do the integrated path that is suggested by the state, and we end up doing that later, there will be gaps for those students that didn't start soon enough getting that content. So they will lose content.
but if you have the
Right.
high school information and committee working sooner and bring the whole package to the board, that could preclude anything that needed to start, correct? I mean, is that feasible?
I'm not sure that the high school, the state board is going to do some discussion next week, I think it is. They're going to share some information next week. But all of the decisions regarding high school won't be made in this year. And it could be possibly up until December of at the end of this year, school year. So we would be losing 6 months of next year to professional development teachers, get them on board, do some lesson planning with them, kind of thing.
That would also maybe give us time for publishers to actually have something in hand or on our electronic box.
President Fraze,
Yes, Ms. Castle.
I have a different perspective on this. I thank you again for the work that's been done, a collaborative effort, and it also included Curriculum Council. I think that our expectations for the last year or so since we've known these new science standards are coming at us is that we prepare. And I see this as a beginning to being prepared in a timely fashion. And so I disagree with the motion. I will not support it. I would much rather see us approve of what is a beginning. Isn't it true the state is leaving us with huge gaps and many unanswered questions, and we're having to wait for them to fill in here and there. But nonetheless, this is a beginning. I do absolutely agree that it needs to be articulated with secondary, obviously so, that's going to happen. But I take a broad perspective, I appreciate the work, and I believe that we should approve this.
Thank you, Ms. Castle. So Mr. Ebley has made a motion to postpone, Mr. Thompson a second. I'm ready for the vote. So any student approval for the motion postponed?
To postpone?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and Hannah? Okay, so call for the vote for the motion to postpone the integrated pathways.
Aye.
Oh, I think this would be an electronic vote, right?
Is that right? You're going to want to go to second.
What are we voting for?
We're voting to postpone. Yes, tables.
Whereas actually, what they originally written, if I said yes, we go.
That's right.
Yes, tables it.
You're
Yes.
voting to table it until you see the addition of the high school
I
component.
disagree with the electronic vote on that, because that's not what I'm saying yes to on this.
And it's not what's before us.
Right.
It's not, it is not what's before us.
So it needs to be reworded.
Or we can do the voice vote.
We could, I love doing voice votes, it's my absolute favorite, so. So we will do a voice vote as to the motion to postpone this. Mr. Talkin? Aye. Mr. Neely?
Pass.
There's no pass. There's no pass in
You know
a
what?
school board.
Yeah, I know, I don't abstain or anything. I can see your point, Mr. Everly, and as you know, the vast majority of the time, I support you in your efforts because I agree that you put a great deal of work in it. You got a lot of passion in it, but in this case, I think this is narrow enough where I've got to disagree with you on it, I'll say no.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Ms. Castle, Mr. Everly?
Hey, wait. And thank you for the comment, but I totally get it. It's not a personal thing. We're business, so, and I will say aye.
Thank you, Mr. Womack.
No.
Mr. Nava?
No.
Ms. Castle?
No.
And Mr. Freitas votes no. So motion fails 5-2. Chair will entertain another motion at this time.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this 6 through 8 pathway
Thank you,
recommendations.
Mr. Wild, for your motion. Thank you, Mr. Womack, for your second. Call. Student vote?
This is to approve the recommendation presented by staff.
Perfect. And we call for the vote.
It does get confusing, doesn't it?
And the motion carries 5-2. Ladies, thank you very much for your presentation, and please keep us informed with your successes. We know they'll be many.
Thank you.
Also, on our other action items, we have the approval of the 2014-15 development fee report. Mr.
We'll ask Senior Director Warren Sun to come up and give this report.
Good evening, Mr. Sun.
Good evening. Good evening, President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. The school district is required by the government code to report the justification and the expenditure findings for the development fees. This is the annual report, which includes the fees collected, interest earned, and the amount spent on the projects for to accommodating additional enrollment from the new residential industry and commercial development for during fiscal year 2014 and 15. This report also included a 5-year anticipated facility project plan. So tonight I present this report for your adoption and approval.
Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Thank you.
I would like to report.
Any comments from the board?
And I move to approve.
Second.
Question?
Yes, Mr. Everly.
So developer fees in the past have been to basically mitigate someone's development. And sometimes there were a lot of restrictions on it. Has that all been removed and it's fairly open? The money just goes in to a certain fund that's held there for kind of whatever project? Or is it facilities only? Or is it for future mitigation?
It is very restricted and we only deposited to Fund 25 for facility-related projects. Whether it's for future, it depends on the development impact on the school enrollments.
Okay, so let's say I want to re-roof a country school somewhere way out where the development is, you cannot do that.
No, you cannot. That is not part of growth, that is maintenance.
See, that's kind of where I was looking at some of
It has to be associated with growth. If you wanted to add 2 new classrooms or bring on relocatables, then they could be used in that case. But for modernization, in most cases, unless that modernization is required because of growth, and now you're getting into a gray area, but it's basically for what growth causes in the district.
Right.
And that could include heavy use because we have say a high school now is overcrowded because of growth.
There you go, okay. Because that, when I was on the Measure K Bond Oversight Committee, they were very specific about where that money goes, because developers were watching this, is I'm not gonna pay my fees, so you can go reroute the house outside the area that I impacted. So, okay, that's, and that's kind of how we work it, instead of just keeping it in the fund until we have enough money to then, let's say, build a school. We can, right?
Yes,
We can save it and accumulate it.
Up to 5 years.
There's always a rule. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Mr. Neely, a motion, please.
I move that we approve.
Mr. Nava, second. Thank you. Student vote. Thank you. Call for the vote. And the motion carries 7-0.
thank you.
Mr. McCilligan, interim administrator pay rate.
Yeah, this item is to change the way in which we pay interim administrators, otherwise substitute administrators. This year we found a number of them have declined the position, citing that we are not competitive. We haven't raised this rate in the 15 years I've been here. We've done a little study looking around at districts around us and throughout the state on EdJoin, and most of them don't approach it with a flat rate, as we have done, $300 a day. Most of them approach it by placing them appropriately for where their credentials and their years of service. The way of looking at it is this would change it to more like we do with our classified employees, our classified supervisors, and our LPPA employees, who, if they are credentialed for the service, which they need to be able to fill in as an interim, we would pay them appropriately if they're credentialed. It's a little different than when you look at substitute teachers. Most substitute teachers, as a rule, do not qualify to actually be the teacher. They're operating on a sub-credential. Whereas most of these people, like counselors, we pay them as an interim because they're actually fully credentialed to do the job. So that's what's before you today.
Thank you, Mr. McCilligan. Any comments from the board?
Mr. Freitas, move to approve.
Second. Question.
You can't move to approve, make a motion before we have board comments. Mr. Haverly.
I'll just chime in. It does say that, like you said, $300 a day. So my assumption was that this says it's on the first step.
Correct. That's what we're asking for.
It's nowhere by number of units or anything. It's they're at the first step administrative. Or is it different for each person who takes the position?
Most of the districts around us pay them according to their years of experience. We're trying to move slowly because this is a big step for this district. So all we're asking for right now is to at least pay them at step one of the administrative salary schedule for the job they're in. So if it's an elementary principal, we'll go to the elementary principal range and we'll pay them on step one.
Okay, that's how I read this, but then when you said that, I kind of went, whoa, wait a minute. Also, it does say that it's effective January 1, 2016. Does that mean that we owe retroactive to people who have already been in that position?
We would to January 1. If you want to make a different effective date, you can.
Yeah. I just don't like the idea of retroactive pay. So anyway, let me ask then.
Do we have any retroactive administrators?
We probably have a few that have been, but I don't know how long they've been out there. Some of them have been in different assignments. I don't know which ones. I don't know.
Give me an example of what the pay would be, let's say, first step, middle school.
Ouch. I didn't bring this up.
Well, I mean, from 300 to, is it 350? Is it 550? I mean,
Rather than you look at the salary schedule and look at it. It's simply take the salary there, divide it by the number of work days, and that's the daily pay. No different than we do with teachers or anybody else. Daily pay is yearly salary divided by the days. It is a significant increase, I'll tell you, because that's why we're getting people not taking our jobs. Our own administrators retired are not taking our jobs now, they're taking them other places.
Just $300 a day is just not enough.
It's, well, I can tell you it's nowhere near competitive.
Well,
or whatever it is.
I just have a hard time with the retro.
Any other comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
Well, if you're going to do this, then I suggest that you do the same thing for teachers that are credentialed that substitute. Because that would be equitable thing where you're applying it to one group of people to another group. So as long as we're going to be consistent, that's your choice, but I think it's important to be consistent, not just say, okay, because you're an administrator, you get administrator pay, but if you're a teacher, you don't get teacher pay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Any other comments from the public? This is very important to me because one of my schools right now is without an administrator. It's been without an administrator now for several weeks because we can't attract anybody. So we have now a vice administrator that's filling in and denying their other school their services that they were sharing with because of this. And we have no way inside at Claremont right now. So thank you for proposing this solution. And with that, I would ask student approval for the vote. Okay, and I call for a vote. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a motion. So we have
a motion, sir.
We have Mr. Neely's motion and Mr. Nava's second. You know what? I'm not as young as I once was, and I forget these things. Thank you so much for reminding me. Thank you so very much. It is. Call for the vote. And the motion carries 6-1. Mr. Hurd, we have a financial report.
Thank you, President Francis, members of the board. We're here today to give the second interim report. The interim reports are always a point in time. This board actually gets to see a living actual budget because of your approvals to the budget changes on each and every one of your meetings. So a little unique as compared to some districts, but the state does require us to make these 2 points in time, the first interim and second interim report. The key components to this report is that first, the budget reflects the current year one-time mandated block dollars that we received, the over $14 million that we are now expending. So that is rolled into the budget as revenue and then also as expenditures. And also in the facility issues that have been transferred to other funds. Projected restricted budget ending fund balance is nearly exhausted for fiscal year 2015-16. And we haven't seen this for quite a number of years. We are dropping from a ending balance, our beginning fund balance of $890,000, and our expected ending fund balance in restricted funds is going to be $86,000. So quite a drop. The current total ending fund balance is projected to be reduced to $20 million from the beginning fund balance of $32 million. Most likely that $20 million will increase as it normally would because of things such as unfilled positions that go on and off during the district. So we do believe that that will probably be slightly higher. The multi-year projections for 2016-17 and 17-18 show an increase to the ending fund balance of $261,000 in the first year and $3.7 million in the third year in this report, in the multi-year report. This, of course, is without any expenditure changes at this point in time. Post-retirement benefits continue to rise with the aging workforce, and we'll go into that a little bit into the report. Expenditures are based on the current LCAP. We now always make sure that our budget matches the local control accountability. I forgot to introduce, we have our whole fiscal team here with us today, and Angel is going to go over the revenue and the expenditures.
President Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer, the revenue slide that we have provided to you is showing the changes in revenue since we adopted our budget. So the 3 columns are adopted, and then there's the original budget, which is original budget is the adopted budget, the board approved budget, which was at the prior board meeting, and then the projected year totals. The revenue for LCFF, you can see, has not fluctuated very much since we adopted our budget at the beginning of the year. The federal revenue has increased a little bit, but that is deferred revenues carryover from the prior year. It really isn't a whole lot of new money. And then other state revenue has increased, and that's primarily the one-time dollars, the 14 million that we have received, as well as some deferred revenue from prior year. And then other local revenue really hasn't changed a whole lot either. You can see our total revenue is currently at 306 million. The next slide that we have for you are our expenditure comparisons, and we have provided for you the same 3 columns as we did in the revenue, and then additionally the black column is what the expenditures were at second interim 1 year ago, just to kind of give you a comparison of where we were a year ago to where we are today. So you can see that in the certificated salaries, there is, and actually classified as well, there is about an 11% increase from last year's second interim to the current year's second interim. And that includes our salary settlements. And then there's a 21% increase in benefits, and that is partially the STRS and PERS and health and welfare that were part of the settlement, the STRS and PERS rate increases that we experienced over last year. And in addition to that, there's also included the STRS on behalf contribution from the state, which is now required to be in our financials, and previously it was not. So that's why there's such a large increase in benefits. In the 4,000 supply range, there's a 29% increase. And that's primarily the one-time dollars that we have received, as well as the increases that we have implemented within our LCAP from over last year. In the 5,000s, the same 18% increase is primarily what was implemented as changes in our LCAP from last year to this year. And then in 6,000, that large 71% increase, that is the 14 million one-time dollars that we have received. So that's why that number is so large. In the current year, the $12 million that you see for 15-16 is that one-time money that we have.
Enrollment, as you can see, that top purple line is our current enrollment. And that's the good news for the year. We haven't seen this. We have a 5-year comparison, but if you even look further back, we have not seen enrollment stay this consistent in any of the prior years. Again, does this make a trend? No, but it's certainly good news, and we hope that it continues. Our multi-year.
Excuse me. This is our multi-year comparison of our beginning fund balance, our ending fund balance, and our reserves. The beginning fund balance, you can see the large green bar is much bigger than the other 2 bars, and that's primarily because at the beginning of the year, the settlements were not voted on until late June, so our adopted budget did not reflect those salary settlements. And then the following out years, that has been implemented, and so that's why there's that large drop between the beginning fund balances of the 3 years. The ending fund balances, you can see, as Tim stated earlier in the presentation, that there's an increase from the green bar to the blue bar. There's a small increase of 261,000. And then from the blue bar to the red bar is the $3.7 million increase in our estimated ending fund balances. The shift in our mandated reserves, that's our economic uncertainties reserves that were required to have by the state. You can see that it's dropping, and from 15-16 into 16-17, it dropped slightly, and that's primarily, again, the removal of the one-time dollars that we received in the current year has been removed out of the future years, so that's why there's a little bit of a dip.
Also, the increase in ending fund balance in the two next years is also because of the funding, the gap funding with LCFF. Since the governor has brought it up to, for next year, his proposal is to fund 95% of the total LCFF funding and has accelerated that. That's why we at this point in time do not have those dollars expended within the budget. Because it was not anticipated, and as we go through the LCAP process, then those dollars can be considered for expenditures. The next thing we want to go into, and we haven't really done this before, but I know that particularly Mr. Womack has had concerns about our post-employee benefits, and so we are required under GASB 45 to do a actuarial study, and so this is a GASB 45 is the accounting of financial employees by employers for post-employment benefits other than pensions. Establish standards for the district to measure and report their retiree benefits costs and obligations beginning with the fiscal year 2007-08. The standard requires that an actual valuation to determine the costs and the obligations to be conducted every 2 years.
Mr. Freda and members of the board, Dr. Washer, our last study was just completed in January 2016 and provides evaluation as of July 1, 2015. As you can see, the study shows that we're expecting to have over $100 million in liabilities for the district paid health benefits to our retired employees. Of that $100 million is split up into two sections. Almost $59 million is for our currently retired employees and active employees that are working with the district and accruing that, benefits. And then the future portion, the 41s, as they continue working with the district, they will be earning that benefit. So the next slide will kind of give you graphically how the liability of the $100 million is. You can see $16.5 million is for the retired employees and 42 is for our current employees that have already moved towards earning that benefit. And then the future, the $41 million, we're expecting our current employees to continue working with the district and eventually earn those benefits. In addition, the latest study shows that the annual required contribution that we need to make to meet that obligation should be $6.8 million. The district currently is budgeting $5.3 million in the general fund to pay for that required contribution.
Where do you put that money at? What category?
So,
you go get in the 300s, 3,000?
Yes, it's going in the 3,000. You know, we have an object 3,700 if you want to look at it, and that money.
No, I'm just curious about where that ends up at. Right?
So we are self-insured, and you can see on the last slide. On the last slide, we charge all our employees. We expense it out, and the money is set aside in the Fund 68 so that we can pay the premiums for our retired employees and set aside some for the future.
The next two slides are going to show you where the district stands, and as you can see, when you look at that red square, that is where people are qualified or will be qualified for post-retirement benefits. And as you can see, the average age in the district now is 45.7 with an average service of 10.9 years. That would mean that on average, most of our employees, if they retire from the district, will be qualified for this post-employment benefit. There are 556 employees that are 55 to 64 years of age with 10 or more years of service that could potentially receive early retiree benefits. The district will continue to budget and make contributions to Fund 68 to ensure that there are sufficient resources to satisfy the district's commitment to our active and retired employees. Any questions?
So our funding ratio for the retirement is the state funding ratio, which is bad, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So we don't have a separate account, part funding ratio. We're tied in with the state's funding ratio and what their situation is.
As far as the stirs and purs, absolutely.
So, okay. And then, I guess the other sobering, I mean, this report is sobering, isn't it? I mean, attached to this is a letter with my name on it saying that we've been deficit spending and we're projected to do more deficit spending, right?
Well, that was from the first interim report, and as we've indicated with the governor's proposal, the gap funding will be increased, and that took us out of our second year of not deficit spending, and definitely going into the third year is not deficit.
Funny you
spending.
mention that, because the County Office of Education left another letter on my desk here today, and I can only imagine what they're saying in that one too. So I imagine it's more of the same. But we really appreciate the report and obviously the hard work that goes in this and the financial leadership that you provide for our organization. But we've spent a lot, and
At this point in time, Mr. Freitas, I would definitely caution the board on its expenditures in the future, as we no longer have a large cushion. FCMAC recommends that a school district have a 17% reserve, and that would probably cover 2.5 months of salaries in this district. Currently, as projected, we're going to be at a 7% reserve, which might give us a half of a month of salaries if we lost revenues coming in.
and even the 32 million that we're at today.
So we're not at 32, we're at 20 now.
We are at 20. And even when we were at 32, that was only maybe 11%, 10.5.
Right.
So, very good. Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Yes, Mr. Neely.
Does your figures about the ending fund balance, does that incorporate the increase in the CERS and PERS?
Yes.
It does?
Yeah,
Okay.
we project that all the way through.
You didn't anticipate any differences in salaries, any new negotiated contracts?
No, these are just current salaries on the current salary schedule.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Other comments from the board?
Yeah, Mr. Freitas, I want to thank the report, Angel, Maria, Mr. Ernst, for that report. I want to let you know that I read all 102 pages of it.
My question, Mr. Nava, is did you actually read the actuarial report?
Skip through.
I suggest that with anybody that has an insomnia problem.
Yes. All right. Any comments from the public? No further comments from the board? The chair to entertain a motion.
Yes, Mr. Freitas, this is an action item. I move we approve 2015-2016 second interim financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Nava, for your motion.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your second. Student vote?
Aye.
Student approved, and call for the board vote. And the board vote, interim report is approved 7-0. Thank you very much for your wonderful work.
Thank you.
Personnel matters, Mr. McKillian.
Mr. President, routine personnel matters are presented for your consideration.
Mr. Freitas.
Thank you, Mr. Neely, for your motion.
Left-handed people are quick. Left side.
I'm waiting for a second.
I saw it right next to you.
All right. Must be my deaf here, so, all right. Mr. Neely moved and Mr. Heverly, second, approve personal matters. Students did not vote on personal matters and call for the board vote. Room T, personal matters are approved, 7-0. Communications, we again, thank you ladies for waiting, our two favorite representatives, that's what makes you our absolute favorites. And Hannah, what is going on at Bear Creek?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members, and Dr. Washer. So this week at Bear Creek, we have our international rally happening this Friday on March 4th. We have 19 clubs performing in the rally. This gives a great way to showcase our clubs and the diversity we have on campus. The clubs have been working for months on their routines to show off to the school. We'd love for you all to attend. There's also a night rally that all the parents come to, and anyone's welcome on Friday the 4th, yes, starting at 7 p.m. with a $5 entry fee. And I will be performing also. I'm in swing club, so that'd be fun. Okay, so at BC, we're having our spring sports are starting to come out, and it's creating a really positive, proactive campus life, and we're really excited to come together and defend our titles from last year. Last week, we celebrated a National FFA Week. FFA put on a spirit days and fun activities during lunch to promote their organizations. Our counselors have been spending the second quarter meeting with individuals and the 10th graders, students, and parents. They have appointments that have been made to review their transcripts and explore the educational opportunities the students may have for the future. Last Wednesday, our counselors had held a parent night to help parents navigate the high school experience. This gives them the opportunity to ask questions about what they should expect at each grade level and how they should work with their students. This quarter, counselors are starting to schedule classes for next year. Counselors will be presenting in social studies classes and meeting with each student to plan out their schedules and publicize summer school and college and career readiness. Counselors are excited about the new courses coming to Bear Creek, such as Law and Order, Ag Sales Services, and Mathematics with Robotic, and much, much more. In student government, we are still in partner with Conflict Mediation, going through the CUB program. The students have been coming, they've had a great time on campus, and we're excited to keep this program forward. This is only the second year that we've done it. Also, seniors in student government have been branching out to our younger schools such as Krista, Elkhorn, and Delta Sierra to present to them how what fun things they can do at Bear Creek and that they should be involved in leadership programs and the potential that they have in activities and decisions on campus. We're also working very hard for this Thursday. We always have an international carnival to promote the rally, and this is where clubs can sell food, and we have a bunch of bounce houses and items that students can play on, and we're trying to organize the rally so it'll go off without a hitch. The next school year is also upon us, and we're starting to get ready for our 2016-17 student government elections. For performances, we have Grease is going to be put on May 6th, 7th, 13th, and 14th at the Bear Creek Theater, 7 p.m. And on March 11th, the Make-A-Wish Club is putting on a talent show in the theater with a $5 admission. So that's going to be super fun. One of our teachers, actually Mr. Heverly, is going to do a duet with one of our students.
A different Mr.
Well, yes. Not yeah, one of our teachers. And then I would love to recognize a couple students we have. So Sarah Siebold won the level 2 Rotary District speaking competition, so speech and debate. And next month she's going to move forward to a Turlock competition and an opportunity to win $1,500 for scholarships. So that's awesome. And we also have Jack Stensland that got accepted into the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. He is about to accept, but he's waiting on a couple of colleges, mainly UC Davis, to see if he got in there, but we're really proud of him. We also have Mackenzie Bassage, a senior, that is the San Joaquin Section Girls Wrestling Champion, a 4-time section champion in the 103 weight class. And she headed to state with her sister Jenna, which Jenna won 2nd place as a freshman. Mackenzie took 2nd in state, so that was great. And we also have another wrestler, Aaron Rugnow, a senior, and he competes in 120s and headed to Masters and won 2nd. And he's going to state this Friday in Bakersfield, so we're really excited to see how he does.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Nava?
I'm just so proud of that girls wrestling team. My gosh, what an outstanding performance by the wrestlers and the coach. I want to wish them good luck at the state this weekend.
If you could stay one more year at it, you would come back to take the law and order class, is that right?
I'm actually really excited for it. One of my favorite teachers is going to teach it, so I think it has a lot of potential.
Terrific.
And I have a question. On Friday's international rally, what are the times?
There's 2 rallies during the day, the school day, and they're going to be in the morning. I believe the first rally starts at 9:30. And then the night rally, it will start at 7 o'clock.
Thank you.
And who's teaching Law and Order?
Jason Johnson.
Oh.
That's great. Julia, how are things at OK?
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. Last week, our FFA students put on FFA Week, which consisted of spirit days and lunchtime activities, which allowed other students to see how it is a student-led organization that teaches leadership and the importance of agriculture in our community. FFA also hosted a teacher's luncheon that all the staff was thankful for and was able to attend. More than 600 AP tests were ordered at Tokay, which is an amazing thing because a lot of students are participating, not just the class, but trying to attain college credit as well. And on March 8th, as requested by the board, we are having our parent forum on school start times. Also, scheduling has occurred and many students from classes now such as AP Chemistry and AP Art History were able to go to other classes to speak of and promote to other students to take the classes that some other students are currently in. Student government had our blood drive today, which helps our school get scholarships depending on how many students participate in it. And campaigning for next year's student government has occurred, and so we now know our officers for next year, which hopefully it will run as well as we were able to this year. On February 17th, our 8th grade parent night was successful, so 8th graders and their parents can know what to expect in the coming years at Tokay. Our NorCal Science Festival, put on by many students such as Julie Fuganaga and Mrs. Starr, was an amazing, successful hit, and more than 2,500 people participated in that event. Upcoming activities, our theater arts department this is the last weekend of the Tempest performance, starting at 7 in our theater. We would also like to recognize our Tokay wrestling team. The girls placed first at divisionals and first at masters as a team, which is an amazing accomplishment. And 5 girls moved on to state, 4 of them placing, and we placed 3rd at state. Thank you.
Mr. Nava?
Yes, I know that Julia's pretty modest. She didn't talk about herself, but she is one of the strongest at 140, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, that's a tough weight to be in.
140 or 138?
143.
And you'll be...
The newspaper must have made a mistake, or maybe I read it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear you check the glasses, I didn't read.
You will be participating this weekend. Is that this weekend?
No, we had state last week.
Oh, you have the state, and you placed
5th.
5th. My gosh, can you imagine how many wrestlers at that weight in this state of California placing 5th? That's quite an honor.
Thank you.
And that's a really tough weight group because that has about the largest
population of wrestlers, doesn't it? I mean, it's one of the more popular groups.
Most of them have about 32. It's a 32-man bracket.
Wow.
That's my way.
You're fighting weight, yeah. Well, that's spectacular.
What time is that meeting on the 8th? Anybody got any?
6 o'clock to 7.
6 or 7.
Yes. For,
Well, that's terrific. You know your ladies are getting ready, you're wrapping up, studying for finals, end of the year and stuff, and you have a whole bunch of homework to do, so please don't let us keep you. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight, and thank you for your excellent reports.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Some of us have been sitting for over 3.5 hours. What if I propose we take a 5-minute break and we resume at 9:40? All right, 5 minutes. You guys need some signatures?
Yes, please.
Thank you guys for coming. Usually they don't go this long.
Oh, not me, I would have really nice to go.
That's awesome.
It'd be a double.
Yeah, you guys actually, you take the bathroom because we have studies that we really can't.
Yeah, I usually go in and ask them what's the speaker's name.
Yeah.
I love you when you know about wrestling. Because he was on the team.
The next one I told you here. I haven't been talking this. I have been talking.
You look so cute today.
I know, I
No!
That's not
So I will be with online. Maybe if I get Looks like the bulb died. It's got. Huh?
Because that one was out. I bet they switched them around.
I bet you they were put in around the same time and they both had a similar. Well, that one was actually put in late. I know that one was swapped. That one was swapped more recently than these two. These two were pretty much the same. So I bet it, and similar lamp hours. But yeah, I saw when it died. After looking at it, I was kind of looking up. I could see the red light on it. So.
That's right. Please stop. I'll go back. So I sent it out to voice email. And how they yelled and she was. You know what? We're trying to get. I got more dollars. They don't have to. They did, more than 2 years. They turned 16 in October. I don't care.
I had a kids. It was so much fun. I went to Needham and I went to Lawrence. What was you reading? At Needham. Anyway, we'll talk. I read it in the classroom. And I taught in Creekside. Pictures.
Yeah.
So you call me a liar?
All of these people out here, all of these people.
That's on Facebook.
Do you? I read.
Oh, is that? I read it a couple of times. I did. It is excellent. The final thing is, what do you do if I did? So I'm reading Dr. Seuss back. That's for all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Washington one. That's it.
The girl walks in the room, then the meeting will start.
Okay. We're back on the agenda. We have comments from employee group representatives. Any comments from employee groups?
Why, yes. I'll make mine really short. I think we heard tonight a little bit about Read Across America. And this week, grab your book and read to somebody. And I'd like to thank and recognize several members that have come to my classroom in my school this week. Dr. Washer, Dr. Talkin, Ms. Castle, Mr. Neely, and Mr. Womack. My kids have been excited. Oh, the energy level over the stories you read and your personal life and the stories you read to them have energized them. And from the bottom of my heart and their spontaneous combustion at the end of the day, talking about all the things they experienced. Thank you. And those of you that haven't gone to a school site, I invite you to go to your nearest elementary or middle school and offer to read, because kids don't see enough, I think, adults in their life reading. And tomorrow is Dr. Seuss's birthday, so we're, no secret to my kids, we're frying up some green eggs and ham. So if you're looking for breakfast, we got green eggs and ham at Nina. So thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I am. All right. Seeing no other employee groups. Comments from board members. Mr. Womack.
While we're talking about reading, I've said before, I read every Friday at Creekside with first graders, but it was a kick. I went over there and there was 2 classes together, so there was a lot of kids in there. They were very well behaved and very engaged, so it was a lot of fun. And so she showed me all these books, all these Dr. Seuss books, and I said, do you have Frog and Toad? And she found one, so I got to read Frog and Toad. So it's kind of bad when I know the names of these books. It was fun. And also the science, Tokay Science Day, the other Mr. Neely was doing magic tricks. That was pretty interesting.
Mr. Heberly.
Mr. Heberly, I'm sorry. Mike, the handsome one, right?
And the one that didn't sing.
He had his lab coat on. It was very interesting. The reading we talked about already. The Ag Venture, we spent some time there, Mr. Freitas and I, looking at a lot of things, but my favorite was the sheepdog. They had the sheep in there and the dog running on there, and it was just really interesting. I think the kids were really engaged in that as well. Last thing I was going to comment on, I know our student reps are gone, but we also have another student rep who's not here tonight, Roman Romero, and he actually won the sectional. So he's on to state now, so we have to root for him. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Other comments from board members?
Real quick, on the, read 2 different schools today, Needham and Lawrence. And a couple of comments. First of all, for you guys, you didn't tell everybody, the conditions of those schools look really nice. I mean, things were kept up and all that. So I was really impressed by that. Both classes I read at, my God, we've got some great teachers. I mean, your kids, a couple from the show today too. I thought, my God, you've got this great classroom management. Those kids are involved, they're well behaved, and when they are not so well behaved, he handles it really, really well. So I'm very impressed about that. Dr. Washer, I'm a little concerned about the things I heard tonight during public comments early on about those 2 items. I just want to let you know that. Okay, that's all I got.
Yes, Mr. Everly.
Thank you. I also went to Ag Venture. I try to go every year. It's wonderful to see those kids actually putting things together. It's like, what is that? That's a cow. I don't want to say that's a hamburger, but and the variety of things that they had really makes it very real to them. And it kind of gives them a different perspective in outdoor, and that, you know, food just doesn't happen at the grocery stores. It's actually raised and put there. So anyway, Ag Venture is always a wonderful event. Likewise, with the NorCal Science Festival at Tokay High, I was really pleased to see the turnout. It was pretty busy and pretty packed. And just watching the kids, I talked to a gentleman that's on the Boy Scout STEM committee with me, and he brought his kids and some neighbor kids. And so he and I were, of course, we were talking, and the kids would run away, run back. He goes, just stay in the building, I'll find you, go ahead and go. And he said, did you look at their faces? He said, it's like they were in Disneyland. It was wonderful, it really was. And I'll tell you, you know, you look at what students can do, and a handful of teachers volunteering, and what an excellent day, what an excellent day. And that, most of that was from their STEAM club with Sandy Starr is the teacher who's in charge of the STEAM club, their advisor, club advisor. Also, an issue that we had talked about earlier, and it kind of keeps resurfacing. So I want to bring that up, and that is about substitute teachers. And it seems to me that we have one department within the district trying their best to resolve that, get teachers, get them set up, get things going, and then we're back at pulling the teachers out of the classroom for staff development. Now, staff development's fine. There's a ton of things that we've got to present to them because of all the changes that are going on. Math, science, technology, growth, all of that. But my perspective is that those things, as important and valuable as they are, they do not trump putting their teacher in the classroom. So I would like to, I'm going to bring this up again when it comes to future agenda items, that I would like us to discuss that, come up with some kind of plans and ideas, and just see if we can minimize the impact of teachers having to leave their classroom to do staff development. There's got to be other ways than having the kids lose out. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Castle?
Really fast. Yes, thank you, Michelle, for inviting us to your class. And I had the great privilege of reading to your students. I thought they were such good kids. They listened so attentively, and they asked terrifically good questions. They were wearing Dr. Seuss hats, and then Michelle has them tie-dye, these really cool shirts. They all were wearing those shirts. It was wonderful. I also read to a 4th, 5th grade combo class at Lawrence, Mrs. Roberts' class, and again, just like wonderful, wonderful kids. I attended the Lincoln Tech WASC accreditation reception, which was Sunday afternoon, and I know they visited with you today, Kathy, and when is, they find out tomorrow? Tomorrow, yeah, so I know they're, okay, I just have to believe they're gonna do so very well. And that's it for me, thank you.
Yes, they did, 2:15, I believe. Is that
Yes.
correct? Is that a good?
Yes.
2:15
Okay.
tomorrow.
In regards to that, Lincoln Tech interviews are tomorrow, aren't they? The student interviews?
Yes, yes,
Interviews
mock
are
interviews are
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Oh, we're gonna have a full day to 2:30, so, and that's a wonderful event too, so. I'll see you all.
Well, what is February 19th? It is, anyone know? It's Mr. Matt Day. And that's the day that you break out your orange, because Mr. Matt is a crossing guard at Ansel Adams. And it's his birthday, and the entire school wears orange for him. So I got to break out my orange tie and show up and see a playground filled with kids wearing orange and teachers and everyone singing, showing their appreciation for this individual who puts in so much time, and we get so much from him. And that type of dedication, you just can't say enough about. So Mr. Matt, another great happy birthday and another great Orange Day. I'd like to see us recognizing Mr. Matz and the other volunteers that we have in our district and for what they do, because it is really so spectacular and it just says so much. So I don't know if we're going to have an orange day or an orange meeting or something, but I look forward to whatever we put together. Time still available, March 10th, 3:30 to 5. I have office hours in the building. So if you want to speak and discuss any items with us, there's still some time slots. Talk to Val. She's more than happy to book you a time period, and come one, come all, and we'll have a great time. So excellent. And that's it for communications from board members. Comments from the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just real quick, one reminder about the Got Kids Talent Show this Friday evening at 7 o'clock at McNair Theater. So that's the talent show sponsored by Got Kids. Should be a good evening. Also, I will give you your certificates from Ms. Orgon, and thank you so much for participating in that. If you want a class to read to tomorrow, we'll get you set up.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. All right, Ms. Katowski, we have a report item on the 1-1 Technology Information Year 1 update.
We promise it won't be an hour this time.
Don't look at me.
No, I'm looking right at you.
Yeah, I know you are. You take all the time you want.
But we also promised that the 17-minute video, we all watched at home already. So it'd be redundant for us to watch it again.
We were already going to say that we wouldn't show it tonight, and we will send you the link so that you can watch it at home. So,
thank you so very, very much.
So President Freitas, members of the board, and Dr. Washer, Dale and Sherry are here tonight to give a update on our one-to-one rollout for this year. So I'm going to turn it over to Dale Munch first, and then he's going to turn it over to Sherry.
Thanks, Lisa. So we wanted to go over just kind of how the project went out, was rolled out. And as you can imagine, anything this size takes quite an effort. So we want to thank the purchasing department, Cricket and her group, for getting the orders in, the warehouse, Dale Greeny, for giving us the space and allowing us to use the truck. Obviously, Cabinet for approving it, Tim and Budget for getting things processed. We have the site staff that have to put up with all the movement during the breaks and stuff, instructional coaches and their involvement, tech services, the 3 vendors that we use, RGS, STS, and educational consulting, and Randy Melandro for helping with the planning and also with the negotiation with the products. So with that, I want to go through the list of bullet items real quick, pointing out that, as you can see, there are about 10,000 devices that were deployed. 340 teachers were dealing with these new devices, around 9,000 students. We have about 90, low 90, high 90% usage of the Chromebooks on a regular basis in the classroom. The reason why it's not 100% is we have extra ones in the cart in case something goes wrong. They have it swap, and we also have some of the offices for them to swap out in case anything goes wrong. So that's why they're not 100%. You see that we use iPads for the K1 level, and then Chromebooks for 2nd through 12th grade. And then the previous year, we had 3 additional tech coaches, instructional tech coaches, and we hired one this year. So, Sherry?
As expected, with all of this comes a lot of professional development and training our teachers from everything, the basics of this is how you turn it on, to where they are individually, because each of them are at a different level of technology use. With the purchase of the Chromebooks, we had a professional development contract with RGS, which later turned into an education consultant group. So we did some kind of conferencing with them, and then we planned for the beginning of the year in July, the initial one-day training with Intel, and they trained us on transforming learning, which is incorporating technology into the curriculum. And then we have trainings, the 2-day mini conference with all of our teachers. We trained 367 teachers within those 2 days on the K1's iPads, and then the 2 through 12 for the Chromebooks. Again, we did everything from the basics, how-tos, how to manage the devices in the classroom, all the way to strategies and apps and applications within the classroom. We do follow that up with quarterly trainings from our educational consultants, and they meet with the site tech leads, which were also implemented this year. A teacher or two from each site becomes the site tech lead. They participate in all of the professional development, and then take that knowledge back to their sites and present to their sites. They have 4 quarterly meetings, 1 meeting every quarter with the education consultants. That's a full day training. And then we follow up internally with them in between each of those trainings, just as kind of a check-in to see how things are going, how they're progressing towards their goals. There was, of course, the overarching goal, and that's to incorporate technology into the curriculum to enhance the learning, broaden opportunities, and prepare students for the 21st century. Within those goals, all of the schools that received the one-to-one implementation the first year filled out an application. Within that application, they had goals that they had set for themselves. What we did as a team was to sit down with all of their applications and go over all of the goals to see if we could find a common thread so we would have a place to start in the professional development. And we found 3 major goals that were threaded throughout all of the applications. One was to develop communication and the ed tech skills, where the students would create, produce, deliver content and work using technology tools. The second goal was to increase collaboration. Students engage in the relevant and meaningful collaborative work, and also to utilize adaptive instruction, providing immediate feedback to both students and teachers about understanding of the content during direct instruction and classwork. All of these are part of the 21st century skills. So the quarter goals that the teams had set, the site tech leads and our group, the first quarter was for the Google Apps. We need to get them onto Google Drive, to Google Docs, and to create a Google Classroom. That was the goal for all of our 15 sites for quarter 1. For quarter 2, they were to create 1 paperless assignment where everything was created, disseminated to the students, created and turned back to the teacher, including feedback, was all done in a paperless way through Google Classroom and Google Docs. And the third quarter goal was to take that 1 step further into collaboration, where they would collaborate on a single document by submitting it to a Google Classroom, where everybody has the opportunity to comment, including the teachers. They get peer support and peer reviews, and then to present that using a digital media to, again, broaden the scope of collaboration 1 step further. Right now, technology is already embedded in a lot of our curriculum, and with the new ELA adoption, it will be even greater. We have all of our intervention and supports, including iRead, Read 180, that are all have the curriculum, the technology embedded in those programs. In math, we do Think Central, which is part of the assessment, and then an adaptive software that takes their assessment and then creates lessons for the students based on how well they scored, our Math 180, our CMP3 at the 6 through 8 level, and the CPM. When I walked into McNair the other day to do an observation, the first thing the kids do is to open the Chromebooks and pull up their textbook because it's all online. In ELA, of course, our new adoption has a lot of technology embedded in it, and across the curriculum, all of the classrooms in science and social studies and even PE are doing Google Docs, Google Classroom, and teacher-created lessons. We have created a spot on the curriculum website for our district where teachers can deposit lessons that they've created using technology so that it's available to all the teachers to look at. So we are reinventing the same thing 100 times. So, and then of course we were going to present you with the video, which you've already seen or will see. And this is actually the technology in action everywhere from our grade 1 into the government classes with seniors at McNair High School.
And if we can, one last thing, Mr. Melander will come up and speak quickly about the assessments and how those students are using it for that. Randy, you want to step up? I'm putting them on the spot.
I don't have much choice.
No, you don't.
Good evening, Mr. Freitas, members of the board, Dr. Washer. One of the things that we've seen, and hopefully you've seen if you've gone around to different classrooms, all of our grade 3 through 5 math assessments, they're unit assessments, which they do about 8 of those a year, completely online. All of our middle school assessments, with the exception of math, students take completely online. All of our high school benchmarks, completely online. Our elementary ELA is available online. And one other thing I just wanted to share, grade 2 at the elementary level, we don't require that they take their assessments online, but we have over a third of our second grade students who are taking their assessments online. So I think it's pretty exciting as we move forward, especially at our one-to-one sites where they have the availability to access the machines daily. The biggest complaint we had about Think Central and the assessments and prescriptive assignments from our non-one-to-one sites is that they don't have the Chromebooks enough. So hopefully as we move forward, that problem will be taken care of. Thank you.
All right. Comments from the board?
Yes. Yes, Sit back and relax. All right, I don't know if you saw, but I've been smiling this whole time. This is fantastic, guys. I'm telling you, this is just beyond my belief, because in 2006, when I got my first class at Creekside, a 6th grade class, I asked for a laptop. You know, they didn't have it, right? They didn't have it. I couldn't use anything. So I said, that's okay, I'll bring mine in. So I brought mine in. Then I asked them, you got an LCD projector? And they said, well, yeah, I think we do. You know, there's one over there, no one uses it. Do you want it? I said, yeah, I'll take that thing. So I put together a little thing to show PowerPoint and stuff like that. Back then, I thought, my God, I just left an industry where, you know, in business, technology is everywhere. It's everything. It permeates everything you do. And now we're getting there. You know, it just makes me so happy because I know the power of this thing. I've been pushing it for years, and you guys are making it happen, and I so appreciate that. Dale, I want to tell you in front of everybody that it's almost mind-boggling, this network that you put together. You know, was it 355 square miles? We hardly ever have a glitch. I mean, there's problems once in a while. When that happens, you guys are right on it, and you fix it. It's fantastic. To see, go back up to the first page. Go back up to the first page up there. Let's take a look at that. There you go, right there. Look at that. Look at how many new devices have been employed, how far out this network has been stretched. I love it that you're kind of differentiating for classes. I mean, we're using the iPad. I understand that may be an issue on Read 180, or iRead, is that right? All right, are we going to stick with the iPad, or have we thought about going to an Android device?
Well, first, if I could, thanks for the comments on the network, but I can't take credit for it. I got a great staff to teach that up, so appreciate that. We are evaluating a Chromebook, a touchscreen Chromebook, to see if how that would work. We have some teachers right now using it and testing it. We hope to make that decision in the next month or so we can get ready for year 2.
Sweet. Okay, that's great. So everything there, we're just adding. I love everything that we're putting on there. Go to the next slide, please. All right. Nothing I want to talk about. Go to the next one. Go to the next one. Here. This is what I want to talk about. This is what's starting to go in. I see up there, we're saying Google Apps, and we're using Google Docs and Google Classroom. We do anything with sites?
Not a whole lot. Some teachers, I think, are using sites, but it hasn't been something that we focused in on. We wanted to get a core, as Sherry said, get a core base for everybody and then move on up. So if they want to use it, they're free to, but it's not something that we focus on.
And that's my point. I asked Mr. Freitas if we could integrate the board discussion that we were going to talk about a guru of technology instruction. What do we call it? We actually have a position. Guru. All right, let's use that. No, we actually, what's that position that we have?
Coordinate, the curriculum
Instructional
coordinator.
technology administrative position.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Instructional technology.
it's already a position. We already have a position.
It's kind of like a poobah, right?
Poobah, that's right, a poobah. So this is not going to get any smaller, guys. Technology is not going to start to go down. It's only going to continue to grow and grow. Now, next year, you're going to introduce some new set of schools, right?
15 more.
And your tech coaches are going to be involved in helping them get started.
They are.
And what we want to do is we don't want to forget those that came on this year. We need to develop things to continue to push them on up because we got more coming in. Google Sites, I use that extensively at the school that I use it for both teachers and the kids. Every kid made their website. That was a senior project. They made a website that reflected on their entire education process, who they were, where they were going. All right, and they did that themselves and they owned it. Then after it was done, they could always use it.
As teacher, I had, for every unit I taught, I had a website. And then there were lessons for every unit on there. And they could go there, the kids could download it. It was all paperless instruction. So we need to continue to push that. The paperless assignments. We're buying new copiers. Let's not buy any more copiers. Let's buy more technology and use more paperless assignments. Now, the collaboration, that's one of the main things I want to talk about tonight, because this is what I can see, this coordinator of
Curriculum coordinator.
give me an acronym.
Instructional technology.
Give me an acronym.
Is that bizarre? Bizarre?
Coordinator, this coordinator that I'm talking about, this is where this person's gonna come in. We all know that teacher collaboration is one of the absolute keys to success in a school and in a school district. We don't have to be together in the same room to collaborate. We don't even have to be online at the same time to collaborate. One of the greatest things that we could do for our teachers and our incoming teachers as well is to go ahead and on a website, and it works, you can do it on Google Sites, I know you can, it's free, is to put every lesson plan that we've got for every class. And we can do that. So whenever a 6th grade teacher comes in, I mean, how many of you ex-teachers have had to write lesson plans? You know, you sit there and you gotta go and compare this, that. What if they came in and we just gave them a link and said, here's every lesson plan you're gonna need. And we can do that. And then we can add extra things to that as well. So that's what this coordinator would help make happen. I've been asking for that for 6 years now, you know? We used to have the old Y drive. And it was a mess, but if you're diligent about it, you can go in there and kind of find things, right? I had a lot of stuff on there. Some things I had that worked in math is I had PowerPoints and they would flash up different multiplication facts, addition facts, and the kids would have to, you know, shout them out just like that, because every second there was another one coming up there. They loved it. I did that with vocabulary. I did it all digital, and words would come up, and it was the sight words for spelling, and they would have to recognize them. I tell you, there's so much you can do that a teacher does not have to reinvent this every time they come to us. We should be able to give them to them. So that's a huge thing that I would like to see. Another thing that I would like to see, and I don't know if it's on your goals there, I would like to see a tech certification worked out for Lodi Unified. A way that teachers, and the teachers as they become more used to technology, they can actually become certified through a course of instruction that we do. I say we, you guys. Yeah. And I'm not certain if that would lead to extra pay. I'd love to see that, but that's a union thing, so I can't talk about that. But it could certainly lead to assignments such as site lead at a school, that they have to be certified in order to get that. And then it might help in the transfer process and that kind of thing. So I'd like to see that happen as well. And the reason I'm bringing this up, board members, this meeting, I won't be here next meeting. You're going to be talking about, I'll be online with you, but it's not the same. You're going to be talking about LCAP next week, next meeting. And I'm going to ask you to include this in the funding for next year. Now, we already have the position, so we don't even have to approve the position. We've got it. All we have to do is include that in our funding, and then we can fill it. Now, I've talked to Dr. Washer about this, and did I say you support me on this? Yeah. So Dr. Washer supports me. I've talked to Randy Melandro, who used to hold the position, about it, and I think he would be excellent back there. That's not for me to say, but we've talked about it, talked about some of the things that can be done with this. Our technology group is going to become so overwhelmed. We need to keep building it. We're making a tremendous investment in technology in this district, and we've got to leverage that technology to get as much out of it as we can. And I guarantee you, if you listen to me on this, we're just now scratching the surface. This thing is so powerful and can help our kids so much. And we've got to manage it from the top and teach everybody how to use it. So that's my pitch for that position. So next week, I hope you'll join me in supporting that. One more thing I want to talk about real quick is that eventually, and I've talked to Mr. Davis out of McNair about this, and he's in agreement with me. He and I would both like to see we get in the high schools where eventually kids can take these devices home. And then when we do that, we extend the learning day a lot, because kids will go home and they'll watch videos that teachers prepare for them for the next class. So they'll watch that ahead of time and they'll come to school prepared. There are ways they'll be able to do work when they're not at school. I mean, they can just join in and turn in assignments and all that kind of stuff. So that's the other thing I would like to see happen. And with that, I just want to thank you guys so much. The vision is so much different than it used to be. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Mr. Meehan. Any other comments from the board?
That's it. That's it. What did you say?
I have just one, Billy.
They said it's all been said.
No, I know, and I'm so happy that George is happy. Yes. I just wanted to throw in one more thing, and of course it's too late. I can't remember the wonderful person at Lincoln Tech that does the Chromebook repair is Nisi. And I met her and talked to her at the WASP reception, and she gave a shout out to you, Dale. And I think isn't that a great program? We repair our own computers now, our own Chromebooks, and she was saying that that's obviously such a great skill for employment for these kids. So thanks for that innovative idea.
Thank you so much. You're not going to believe this, but I do have one more thing.
Oh.
But the other thing,
you don't have nothing if I don't call on
that
you.
one, that coordinator, one more thing they can do to relax the applicant is they could be in charge of building that IS-IT pathway that we've been talking about. Computer repair, information technology, information systems.
Okay,
That's it.
Yes, Mr. Hebler.
Hi. Just a couple of clarification things. When you say a site tech lead teacher, explain that.
The site tech lead teacher is a teacher at the site who has agreed to take on the extra hours. They are paid on time card. When they come to the daily trainings, we pay for their sub, and when they do the trainings with their staff, it's at an already planned meeting, either at a common planning or a faculty meeting. But if they spend additional time on there, we give them up to 18 hours on time card to do that, and they come to the trainings and disseminate the information.
Okay. And that brings me to, he's been looking at my notes apparently because I highlighted the collaboration just like he highlighted it. How is that accomplished? The collab, because time is a real critical thing, and I like teachers being able to get together and collaborate. How do you do this? Hey, here's something else. Do this, and that really helps the whole thing expand also. So how is that typically done now?
A lot of that is done through Google Classroom. We have a folder set up for our site tech leads, a folder that our tech coaches have set up for them. Information that they find, new things that they find, they put into the site tech lead folder, and everybody, all the site tech leads have access to that. They can drop things in, they can comment, they can take things and use them in their classrooms or disseminate them anywhere they want to.
If I can add real quick, because that gets back, George, to what you were saying, that this takes the spot of the Y drive or that other system, so that the teachers, the coaches have a spot to put the curriculum that they want and share it out with others, and then they can go get it when they want. So a lot of the stuff that you'd ask for is available through the Google Classroom. Sorry.
So no, that's fine. When you're saying collaboration, it's not so much teacher to teacher or site lead to teacher helping them in the classroom or instructing them to do some of the, because some people may look at the device and go, what would be the most effective thing for the kids to get their hands on this? How do we do that?
Well, I'll speak a little bit to that. So again, peer-to-peer is also the students to students. So an assignment can be made and the students can get onto the same document at the same time and edit it, and then you'll see the comments come up. Matter of fact, I think a couple of years ago, we had the students here, I think Martha was here, the students, they had the document showing up on the screen, and there were kids at home getting on the same document, making changes to it. So that's what Google Docs allows you to do, is multiple students in the same document making changes at the same time. That's what the peer-to-peer.
The other thing, in terms of having someone on site, just the fact that we all know when you need help, you want someone who's there. And
now, typically.
Right, and that's what the site tech lead can do. Maybe it may not be at that minute. It may be at lunch. It may be before school. It may be after school. But the teachers at the site don't have to wait for the tech coach when they come next week or tomorrow, but they have someone right there. So that collaboration, even one-to-one, can happen at least during the same day. And that really, I believe, is what supports the use of technology more by those teachers having that comfort level.
Right, their comfort level, and you don't want them to get turned off to, oh, I gotta wait a week for the, right. Like I said, when they need it, they've got it in their mind, they've got this thing planned, and it's because technology doesn't work. So that's a real important thing that I see us being able to expand this. More of a overall comment is that I'm hearing a lot of really positive comments about Chromebooks and what they're able to do with their students and how the students really just get into it and do it. Very positive. It's wonderful. I just wanted you to know too, I think it was a meeting ago, maybe two, I had mentioned that I had heard some worries that as Chromebooks go out, other devices are going to come back. Let's say you have some other laptop or something, and they were worried that they were going to lose their laptop because now you've got a Chromebook. And Mr. Hearn, they were going to look into it. Mr. Hearn, I just want you to know, did contact me and tell me that, no, there are different requirements for computing devices for different applications and needs. And I want to make absolute sure that we're not taking things that work. Somebody who's doing computer-aided drafting or computer-aided design, or some kind of, it's called veneerware, where it's kind of science where they can probe the material and see what it is, and it gives them all these readings and stuff. You can't do that on a Chromebook. So, and they already have everything all set up. So if we take it from them, then they have actually less technology. So that was good to hear that we're not doing that.
Two quick things on it, if you don't mind. One is that part of the process with working with the sites going one-to-one, we've talked to the principals, we have asked them to ask the teachers, we'll put out an email, tell us any software you're using in your classroom right now that would not work on the Chromebook, or just what's used on the computer. We'll look at it and see if it works or not, and we'll have to adjust. The other thing, though, is veneerware does have some of their probes work with Chromebooks. So there is that, they understand Chromebooks are huge now in schools, and so they are transitioning and having that capability for some of their stuff.
And sometimes you have to buy the correct software and so forth. About the software, I'm also hearing some great things. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Doceri? Doceri, okay. Let's say I'm a teacher in the district and I want to experiment with it and I want to use it in my class. How do I get it?
So with that, the teacher would have a laptop. I think if not all teachers, most of them have laptops right now. So that's one component. They would need an iPad because Doceri works in conjunction and basically makes is a remote control to their desktop. So they just control their PC desktop with that Doceri software so that they can show things. And there's some other facets of it as well. But so they would make the request for a purchase of an iPad and they would get it, and then they purchase the license for Doceri. They would get training with the coaches then, and then they'd be able to use it.
Okay, now that's, I guess, part of that operational thing too, is when they make the request, they're going through their principal.
Yes.
Who's paying for it? The site or?
Right now, the district standard is a laptop for the teachers. So if there's a secondary device that they want, yes, it's then look to the site to pay for that.
How about licensing?
They would also pay for the license for the distillery, which is 35, I think it's about 35 bucks for the desktop version.
And it's not a 35 a year.
No, it's one time.
Perfect. And I'm hearing really good things about that application also. So, let me take a quick flip and, nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the outstanding.
That got all easy.
Board member reports on subcommittees. All right, future agenda items. Mr. Talkin, would you like to at a future meeting discuss Elkhorn and the issues we heard? Okay. To discuss Elkhorn and the issues that we heard and maybe Elkhorn's future with the district?
You want an open session agenda item on Elkhorn?
Well, maybe we'll think about suggesting it at a future meeting.
Okay.
And Mr. Heverly has.
Yeah, for future agenda items, one as I already mentioned is the work out the substitute thing to make sure the right hand knows what the left hand's doing, and we can actually alleviate the problem to the best of our ability. The second thing I'd like on a future agenda, and it seems like it's got to be done rather quickly, we have been getting updates about the map placement. And I know it's a new state law and all that kind of stuff, but I think we need a little bit more in depth, and I still don't get the summer school requirement deal for math. So I will be coming to you to talk about it, and I think it's something that is important that we let everybody know about.
Okay.
And that one is kind of time sensitive, so the sooner the better.
Okay, speaking of time sensitive, it is still before 10:30, so everyone have a nice evening. Meeting is adjourned.